On this installment of Stormwater Creek, we're with Marc Smith, MuleySlayer. He's going to give us the rundown of mule deer in the western states for the most part.
Sounds good. Something I like to talk about, for sure.
We're happy to hear it all.
I know.
Yeah. And you got an elk tag today, I hear.
I did.
Yeah, awesome.
Today was a good day.
Today, yeah. Unexpected, because I think last year the draw didn't come out till June or July or something.
Yeah.
I got the email sent at the office.
You already got the email, so you didn't go online and check or nothing.
I got the email. No, I got the email from New Mexico Fish and Game that said draw results will be available today after 10 a.m. I don't remember what time it was, early this morning.
Yeah.
And emailed the guys I put in with, and then immediately tried to get on the New Mexico Fish and Game website, and it was crashed.
Yeah.
It wouldn't load because, everybody just...
Is that a pretty common
hammering
occurrence for most states that it just drops?
Yeah, today I didn't know, but my crew, my boys, Team Backcountry, the guys in that picture right there.
Okay.
I don't know if you follow them or not, but they're my hunting partners that I hunt with out west a lot. They're younger, but we became friends a few years ago, and we just jive, right? We just hunt. That's in the backcountry of Nevada right there. But Dustin, the guy next to me with the longbow there, he texted me today and said, New Mexico draw results are out. I didn't get anything. And his brother couldn't even get on. It was so jammed up. And I'm old. I'm so old. And I'm like, I'll check it later. And they just kept pounding me. Please go check it. Please go check it. We didn't even put in together. You know? So I put in. I'm like, it's all red again. I didn't get nothing.
So I emailed those guys. And our buddy Aaron's dad, he responded. He's like, oh, we drew Unit 9 September 15th.
Yep.
I was like, that's awesome. So then I sat there for 30 minutes trying to get on, and finally let me on. But then every time I'd try to review the details, it would crash.
Yeah.
Finally, I gave up, and then I started just going down a black hole bow shopping and maps and just didn't do any sort of work.
I was gonna say,
if anyone from work's listening, they don't care.
Exactly.
And then about 2 o'clock, the official email showed up that saying you drew, congratulations.
Yeah.
I felt so bad for all
late.
those people posting unsuccessful on Instagram. It was a bad day for
it's
more.
So ugly. There's not an uglier shade of red than that shade of red from the New Mexico website.
You think at least they could do is just not say they could come up with a better word than unsuccessful, like we're sorry, or
better luck next time.
Better luck next time. Something to kind of really bring you back.
Appreciate your interest.
Yes, exactly.
Well,
I heard Montana is going to be a week out from. They posted up that they're going to delay a week.
Yeah, New Mexico used to be the worst about having it organized and when they got it out. But all of a sudden they've outsourced to another person. They farmed out their draw to a whole other company that does it. And this company that does it for New Mexico is always early now. This is 2 years in a row. They've been early of the deadline. They're on it. I mean, they're good. So even though they don't want to give me one, they gave you one.
They
and that's
clearly
I wasn't expecting it. I mean, I didn't draw last year.
Yeah.
But, hey.
It's okay, man. I'm not sour grapes or nothing.
No.
But I still have Colorado, and I have Navajo Res and wherever else, Utah and Idaho. I'm going to Idaho over the counter with my son, so we're good to go there.
I'm going to put in for the Oklahoma one next year.
They have a
elk.
Oklahoma has an elk hunt?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's once in a lifetime once you draw.
Yeah.
They said it's not super. I mean, it's hard to draw, but you build preference points. And once you draw, there's a good amount of animals. Basically, it's population control.
Yeah.
So it's basically once you draw, they'll put you somewhere in a unit, and unless you just really screw up, you're going to kill an animal.
Yeah.
But it's once in a lifetime. But it's close.
Sure.
Check
Oklahoma.
A box.
That's across the creek from us.
Yeah, exactly. Check a box and fill a freezer, and it'd be awesome.
There's some good over the counter. I mean, I guess it's like $280, or maybe it's $300 this year to get a out-of-state non-resident tag for Oklahoma to go hunt public land up there.
Yeah.
And they've got some. We had a guy on our podcast a couple of months ago that shot a 140-inch deer on public land, which is pretty nice sized deer just to go
whitetail.
out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, big whitetail.
That's real good, man.
Yeah.
So-
September 15th.
September 15th, huh? So what's been your experience with just kind of dealing with since we're talking New Mexico? Is that probably one of your favorite places to hunt, or
it's one of my favorite places only because it's like home for
Yeah.
me. Like I'm from Texas. I'm a native. I was born in Texas, raised in Texas, but when I was 24, I moved to El Paso, and as you know, living in El Paso, you've been to El Paso, Texas?
I have.
Oh yeah, well, you're a lot closer to hunting
That's basically
something
eastern New Mexico.
Yeah, you're a lot closer to hunting something in New Mexico than you are in Texas.
Absolutely.
When you're out there. So my first year, I started doing my research, living there through work. I took a job out there, and just realized that, hey, the opportunity, if I'm going to hunt this year, the opportunity is New Mexico, and I'd never hunted mule deer. So I went and got a set of the regs and studied on it and found a guy. This was in 1994. And so I just pretty much, on the back of the proclamation, there was all these outfitters.
Yeah.
Right? And I like this guy's logo, so and I was like, oh, that's in Reserve, New Mexico. So I went to the Gila, what is actually 15 for elk. That's where I hunted my first deer.
Okay.
And we saw some bucks, and we went. I paid him like $150 a day, and we all bounced around the back of a truck on national forest land. I'm talking all but knocked arrows and lawn chairs in the back of this truck. I thought that's what it was. An old guy. He's like, yeah, we was getting the back of the outfitter actually hired out this rancher.
Okay.
That he grazed cattle on, and said, take these guys hunting. They're gonna,
Yeah.
They had me hook, sinker, man, because we went out there
Exactly.
that summer and bounced around in the Jeep out by the airstrip there north of Apache Junction. There's 350 bulls laying all over this thing and mule deer bucks out feeding. And it's like, oh, my gosh, man, this is going to be awesome, right?
Yeah.
That was going to be our caveat into elk hunting. We're going to go mule deer hunting this year. We'll get an elk tag next year, and we'll go elk hunting.
Okay.
And so we went, and we were, my brother-in-law and my friend Sean Dennison and I, we had our bows, our old Carroll PSE bows, and we went out there and we never flung one arrow. We hunted 2.5 days, I think. Gave got $150 a day. Came home, and then by the next fall, I was already living in New Mexico because I took another job transfer and went to the Four Corners. Now that's where my life really changed because I lived in a 4-state area where I could have Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, Utah, and the Navajo res tags all in my pocket. So I'd have 5 mule deer tags at one time for the month of September.
Oh my God!
And I was a fork and horn slaying sucker because
Yeah.
I had little kids at home.
Sure.
And I cared nothing. I mean, I would, if I was to have shot a big deer, I'd have put it on the wall.
Sure.
But that was so secondary to me
was
back
meat.
then. I'm just putting meat on the table.
Yeah.
Because when I lived in Texas, I left an environment of filling all my tags every year and putting 4 or 5 deer in the freezer every year to going to New Mexico where I can shoot a deer.
Yeah.
And then so now I'm like, well, it's going to cost me. But back then I go to Walmart in Colorado and pay $150 and buy a deer tag, and then I could go. Utah had leftovers for $180, and the Navajo res was $150 for a leftover.
Yeah.
So I was spending a lot of money, but I didn't have a deer lease. I didn't have feeders. I didn't have all of the expense that I was used to. I could just put right into tags and go hunting on free land.
Yeah.
And that was my experience.
And you probably had more of an opportunity.
Oh, yeah.
Way more
and
of an
I
opportunity.
And I really just gained so much knowledge of animals and the amount of time I could spend doing it and all of that. So that's where my roots for mule deer come from is New Mexico. To say New Mexico is a great mule deer bow hunting spot, no. I did have a bow opportunity on my app this year.
Yeah.
But I really like to take my rifles when I go to New Mexico. It's more the country's just more conducive to rifle hunting.
Yeah.
The later seasons, but I did put that January bow tags first choice because I hadn't bow hunted in a while.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite hunts. But New Mexico is a great mule deer destination. If outside of the Four Corners, it's just a mediocre deer spot. You can go. I mean, there's probably better over-the-counter opportunity in Arizona and a lot of places than New Mexico. But I just really like New Mexico, and I really, really like that Four Corners area.
Okay.
Yeah, I grew up in Amarillo in the Panhandle, and that's much closer also. So we spent a lot of time.
Kind of the same thing, yeah.
Yeah, and we didn't do any hunt. Nobody in my family hunted, but we skied and I did Boy Scouts out there, so I spent a lot of time
over at Cimarron.
Yep. Yeah. And Angel Fire and Taos, and just a lot of time in that whole area.
Yeah.
So I'm coming to enjoy New Mexico also.
Yeah. New Mexico is just an awesome place, and the food is really good because it's authentic Mexican food over there. I love that. And when the chilies are roasted. That when I lived there in the Four Corners, man, one of my favorite things was you always knew, like in summertime, when the Russian olives along the river were blooming, that smell, and then the next thing you know, you smell chilies roasting. That just meant bow season's coming.
Yeah, you're like, oh yes.
Oh my gosh, yeah. When you pull up to the grocery store and they're roasting chilies, it's time you're flinging arrows at deer. It was awesome, man.
It's time to get
Those
ready.
were just great times, yeah. So yeah, I have a warm spot for New Mexico, but I lived there for 5 years.
Yeah. So if you were going to tell somebody, so we're new to the Western game. I mean, you guys have done it. Jordan and Austin did it last year for the first time. But if you were going to have somebody said, I want to go hunt mule deer over the counter, like where would you send them?
Over the counter mule deer?
Over the counter tag. Who is your friend, not an enemy?
Yeah, that was my friend. I get that question probably 5 times a week, every week.
Yeah.
Sure.
And that's people just want to know, And so I say, if we have time for the draw, put in for a Colorado tag, put in for a point, and then put in for these certain units as your second choice that have great opportunity. That's your Colorado, to me, is the number one destination for hunting.
Okay.
Period. And I've hunted all over. Utah's a really good spot. I love Utah. I'm pretty guarded about it. It's limited resource again, like everywhere else. It's harder to get tags there.
Sure.
And I had a lot of people show me stuff that I can't share
because
everything I go learn on my own. You can go kick rocks. I'll tell people what I want to tell them. I learned it, so I'll go tell you what I want you to know. But if someone shows me a public land spot, I will take it to my grave. I'll never tell my best friend because that's just not. There's a code there. You need to stick to that code. So Utah, I don't steer anyone to Utah. I don't talk about it much. Now, I write articles for the Mule Deer Foundation magazine, MDF, and I have to talk about some of the things and places I hunt there. But to specifically come out and say, hey, I'm going to give you pointers in Utah, I just don't do it. Colorado, I learned Colorado pretty much by myself. So I'm comfortable.
Feet on the street kind of thing,
boot leather on the mountain. And I tell people, hey, this is you can draw this with no points, but you don't have a 100% chance.
Sure.
So there's some of the best tags in Colorado. I'll tell you this: some of the very best mule deer tags in Colorado do not require a point. It's not guaranteed, but you can't draw it on a second choice. You see what I'm saying? You have to put it as your first choice, but you don't have to have a point to get it. But at one point guarantees it. So if you can figure that out by looking and figure out those units and go every other year.
Okay.
Well, this buck right here, I killed with a rifle 2 years ago. I'm going there. I got a point. That was a leftover tag turned in, and my buddy and I stumbled up on it. We knew the unit, but we didn't realize what the hunting opportunity was. That's a second season rifle tag.
Oh, wow.
And so once we went, we're like, oh my gosh, this is incredible, the amount of bucks we saw. And there was no snow. It was migration deer.
Yeah.
The deer are moving whether there's weather or not, right?
Yeah.
So we figured that out. And then we got to look at it, and it's a low chance. It's like less than 20% chance without a point, but there is a chance. 1 point guarantees it.
Yeah.
So every other year until that opportunity goes away, like all mule deer opportunity does, we're going to keep pounding that. So your question was, where would I send somebody over the counter? I'm not a big over the counter guy, only because
there's so much better.
There's a little bit of opportunity that's better through a limited resource.
Okay.
Something I'm going to explore this year that I think is a pretty well kept secret. It's kind of the secret's out, but I think it's a good opportunity. Is Idaho.
Yeah.
I think there's some great combo deer elk hunting in Idaho, and I think there's some great deer hunting in Idaho. That same thing, you can draw. You have to put in for some of these. They're guaranteed draw. They're unlimited, but they limit the amount of people. And so that you can't just hunt the whole region. They kind of specifically want to put you into this season, but you can go there.
Yeah.
And it keeps. I heard it can get crowded, but it's starting to kind of. They're over the curve now, where people are going, yeah, that was great. I don't want to do that. I want the opportunity to hunt with my bow in 3 or 4 different seasons. Well, my son, he has limited time, and he wants to shoot a mule deer. He hadn't shot one in a long time. So we're going to take our guns in mid-October and go on a backcountry hunt. Bring a backpack in 4 or 5 miles and just bivvy out and take our rifles. But I think if I don't draw Utah. If there's ever a year, last year was the first time since 1994 I didn't have a mule deer tag.
Oh, wow.
And it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. I thought, this is going to really suck. But I just put a lot of time and effort into hunting my deer lease in Texas.
Sure.
I hunted a lot of hogs and deer, and I trad hunted for a while and tried that out.
Yeah.
But so I had, and I went to Colorado for 15 days and didn't kill an elk, but I passed quite a few. It was a good time. But it was painful not to have a mule deer tag, and I was like, man, I don't want to do that again. So it's kind of feast or famine. So last year I only put in for a couple, thinking I'd get at least one of them. I got none. This year I have 6 opportunities out there. I have 5 apps out, plus I'm going to go on a guaranteed over-the-counter deal. So watch, I'll end up with 4 or 5 deer tags. And so even though I didn't draw New Mexico today, it's kind of a blessing, because that would have been tagged.
Yeah,
that would have been a
time.
3rd week in a row. So the way I had it planned out was I'm going to go to Utah, or I'm going to go to Idaho and Colorado. And then from there, I would have stayed in New Mexico, I'd have been gone 3 weeks straight. So now I kind of don't have to worry about the stress of that. I can get back home, climb in my box stand with my thermos and my weather bead, shoot a whitetail.
Exactly.
Because I'll be back in time for gun season. So anyway, Idaho is a great opportunity. Without ever setting foot in it, I can just tell from my research that's a great over-the-counter opportunity. Arizona is a great over-the-counter opportunity, and I've hunted a lot of Arizona in the late season. What people may not know is in Arizona, if you buy your tag January 1, you can hunt January, and then you can go back in August. If you wanted to set water holes in southern Arizona on coos deer, cows, whitetail, you can go do that in August, set water holes, and that's a great bear opportunity also. There's a lot of bears in southern Arizona, so you can hunt bears and coos deer in August. Then if you don't shoot a deer, you go back December 15th through the end of December and hunt the rut again. So you get to hunt 3 seasons. That's the draw to Arizona. Now, that being said, I've been to Arizona probably 7 times on the late season hunt, and I've yet to kill a mule deer.
Okay.
That's where I killed that javelina in Kingman, Arizona 4 years ago. 4 years ago. I killed him in 2014. So 4 years ago. Not for a lack of trying and not for a lack of seeing bucks. I don't know. I'm snake bit in Arizona. I've never missed in Utah that I can remember.
Okay.
And I've killed 3 bucks in a row. And I think I went to Arizona and missed 3 bucks in a row. Just something happens, man. I hit branches, or the deer moved, or the wind was howling one day, and I took a really long shot. My arrow sailed like it was an eye opener for me. Like my shot, this long range shot, and the shot breaks, and I see the arrow, and it's like, wow, man. You know what a fan is in baseball? It was like I fanned that thing or something, man. It was terrible, and I missed a really big 180-inch buck, and it was painful. No. And that's about the biggest one I've ever missed, there.
When one walks out that's that big.
And then so the last year that I went, when I shot that javelina, I told my friend John I was hunting with, I said, man, I just want to take one home. I'm going to shoot a meat buck. I haven't done that in free. So I found an ear-width forked horn and shot, and for some reason, man, like one blade caught his brisket, and there was some black brisket hair there, and he just ran up the hill and looked back. We could tell I shot really low, and he didn't bleed, but like 2 drops and went on. So that's the only hairs I've ever cut in Arizona on deer. But so is
something
it a great?
About it, huh?
It's not. Yeah, I really, really want to redeem myself there. It's like a bucket list thing. Like I have to do it. But now I won't shoot a forked horn or a 3-point. I want to go shoot a nice 4-point buck or nothing. But I'm going to keep doing it. I'll keep trying it. So I think Arizona's great over the counter. Another one that I've never done, but I've researched and I think it's a good opportunity is Nebraska has a great mule deer opportunity on public land. Great public land over the counter opportunity. Plains deer, big deer. I mean some nice ones. Never done it. Researched it. I have banks and banks up here in my noggin of research, but I always just go back to the places I like to hunt.
Seems like Nebraska would be one of those places that would be like a closely guarded secret for somebody and a place that most people overlook. And they're like, I'm not going to Nebraska. Right. I'm going to go to Nebraska and shoot a whitetail, right?
Yep. No, Nebraska's got some great deer, but Nebraska is like the ultimate turkey hunting location.
Yeah.
Man. Like I've gone there. And every time I go, you can buy 3 tags, I think, and it's like I kill 3 longbeards, and some of them live on public land. It's like amazing. So I'm like, why aren't we hunting some of these sandhill bucks or something? But anyway, the part of it for me, honestly, guys, is not about. I'm not a score guy.
Yeah,
it's just got to be a mature deer, a nice deer. But for me, it's about where I hunt. I'm a mountain hunter.
Yeah.
I like mountains. I like to put on a pack and go in for miles like in those pictures there and go for days and just live off the land and do that. I don't want to live in a motel or a hotel and go hunt. And I don't like to hunt in cold weather. I don't like to hunt in snow. So the only time I'm going to hunt late season is when I can either go like to New Mexico and you putt around glass bucks, go chase that one, get back in the truck, turn the heater on, or go to Arizona where it's nice, But to say, hey, I want to go tromp around in snow on a bow hunt in Idaho in that late season, no thanks.
That's not for me either.
No. When I lived out west in Colorado, man, I was a cold guy. I liked it cold. But I'm aging. Now I'm 47. I've come back to Texas. I've been back to Texas now 5 years. And, I mean, I can tell my wife in July, turn the air conditioner up a little bit. It's cold in here.
Yeah, exactly.
And before, man, I couldn't get naked enough and turn the AC down low enough when I was younger. But when you get older, it does affect you. You do.
Your temperature changes.
Yeah. Your thermostat internally changes. So I don't want to be cold. What I've learned over the years is hunting we take it so serious, and we get so wound up, and you spend money that you don't have on things that you don't need.
Yeah.
Time is a currency, and so you're spending that also.
Yeah.
You're spending time that you got to be my time is worth more than anything I possess on this planet is my time. So, because if I'm going to spend time, am I going to write off one of my grandkids? Is it something I could have done with them to go on a hunt? Before I never blinked. I just hunted. So now it's like, man, the juice has got to be worth the squeeze, and hunting has to be fun.
Sure.
If I don't like, I get a lot of folks ask me, why don't you have more hard antlered mule deer? I've only got a few hard antlered mule deer, some nice ones. My biggest one's a hard antlered mule deer, but most of my bucks you're ever going to see in pictures are anywhere are like that one there in velvet. Because, man, I can go out in a T-shirt and one layer pants and hiking boots or tennis shoes and climb around on the mountain and just and in the morning have a jacket on, but by 10 o'clock, man, I'm in a T-shirt. That is fun. That feels good. It's fun. I like it.
Yeah.
And I can sleep in a tent at night, and I can flip the top open. I can look at the stars out of my bivy sack or my tent, and I just love that.
Yeah.
If I got to pack a Mr. Heater and some fuel and all this stuff and all night long, man, I just don't think that's fun, and so I'm not going to do it. But if you think it's fun, go do that. Absolutely. Something that changes that, though, a little bit for me is the weapon.
Yeah.
If I'm packing a heater, a Weatherby Magnum, I can be as miserable as all get out because it's kind of the deal breaker for me, right?
Yeah.
Like if I see what I'm came for, I'm going to get it.
Yeah.
That makes it just a little bit worth it. But if I'm up here and I'm spending 7, 8, 9, 10 days beating myself up in a T-shirt with my bow and arrow, it's okay. It's fun still, no matter what. It's fun.
Yeah.
But so with that being said,
you're not cold, which is miserable.
Yeah.
And probably wet.
Yeah. So because even miserably cold, wet, shooting a 200-inch deer in 0-degree weather and knowing I'm going to get him because I got a 257 Weatherby Magnum, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's just straight up cool. I like that. So I like that.
I agree.
But for bow hunting, and there's a lot of people who are going to disagree with what I just said because everybody likes it for their own reasons.
Sure.
But I just threw that out there because I want to make sure hunting's
100%.
got to be fun. And that's what I find fun is warm early season hunting.
Yeah. Sometimes it's a little too warm for me down here in Texas for early season. October was.
I love the heat.
So you can't because these whitetails are wound up tighter than Dick's hat band. They are wound up tight, and you have to pay attention to the scent more than anything.
Yeah.
And they can pick off stuff that let's just face an East Texas whitetail. There's just nothing I've ever hunted. I've hunted bighorn sheep, mule deer, mountain goats, moose. I've been on moose hunt. I've hunted just about everything you can hunt, and I've never been more deflated or been picked off more than like an East Texas mature whitetail deer or a hill country whitetail deer for that matter. But Texas whitetails are wound tight.
Yeah.
And so you're hot and you're trying to control that scent every way that you can, and you're sweating in your tree stand, and that's just creating scent. But the worst thing is when that mosquito that you've tried to ignore that's big as a grape on your eyebrow, and you're finally like, I've got to whack it. And as soon as you do, because that buck was right there. Because the mosquitoes come when the deer come.
Yeah,
they know,
exactly.
man. Like the bucks are like, I'm not going to move till mosquitoes get that guy in the tree moving around. Oh, yep, there he is.
Yep.
I took it so
thought.
personal this year. Yeah, I had whelps. This is my best East Texas buck. Right there. I killed him this year, and I had whelps on my eyebrows because I just wasn't going to move. I swore I wasn't going to move, and that was October 24th, and it was cool, but the mosquitoes were still just drank because I hunt down the hardwood bottoms.
Oh yeah,
they were just tearing me up. But,
Thermacell.
Yeah. You know what? Thermacells are awesome, and I used them on my bear hunt in Canada, but I just was afraid of the scent for the whitetails. But I hear no, it's okay. They just don't. It's not. It doesn't spook them, right?
Yeah.
You use them?
We all have them.
I used them, and I had one in a stand, and I had a little forky that was too small to shoot and illegal. Otherwise, he would have been in the freezer. But he was at 10 yards and just hanging out, and I had some does kind of come in but they were kind of moving through anyways. But we had deer just. So
I'm gonna try it this year. I'm gonna try. I went down there.
It made it much more enjoyable because they didn't bother you quite as bad.
Right. The bottoms are flooded where I hunt, and they have been since February. And I went. My feeder got underwater. My trail camera was underwater. I don't know if you saw that picture I posted on Instagram, but I had wood ducks right in front of my trail cam.
Oh, nice.
Where typically if I'm standing in front of it, it takes a picture of my chest.
Yeah.
Right? But there's wood ducks swimming by, and I went down there when I got that stuff, and my feeder was underwater, so I just threw some corn on the ground, said I'll hunt one morning, had my bow. I couldn't set for 20 minutes, and I mean, I don't know what happened, but the mosquitoes just about carried me out of there, and I swore then I got to do something different because it's just.
We did it. We had them. We hunt the same thing on public land here in Texas, and it was, oh my God, it was so bad.
Yeah.
Like just preseason scouting, putting out trail cameras. It was like. Good night. You couldn't. I was wrapped up tighter than I walked in with long sleeve shirts and I covered up on my head and still was like I need a thermocell and to just be doused and off to even make anything happen. But
right.
That's the way it is down here. And we were talking about that a little bit earlier, just about public land here in the state, just how it's just so much. It's such a difficult proposition because it's not huge expanses. It's the particular place we hunt's like 1,200 acres, which is a nice piece of land, but it's just completely covered in hardwood, and so you have to kind of figure out where they're moving through and just kind of
reading signs.
Yeah, and that's made me a much better hunter than I ever have been, is trying to read that sign. But then you kind of, at some point, you get to the point where, like, okay, I can see the sign here. I see rubs. I see where they're eating, but it's just everywhere. So it's not like there's not really like a definitive place. And then you got the hogs that come in, which just throws another wrench in, and it just scatters them.
Have you ever looked at your property, your public land here in Texas that you hunt? Have you ever looked at it on Google Earth?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the difference between looking at a ridgetop in Utah and looking at a place you want to hunt in Texas on Google Earth is a completely different experience because there's no landmarks. Everything's the same. You can go off of a fence and check how many 100 yards this way or how many, but to say you want to see game trails and you can't see through the dense cover to see what separates bedding from feeding. And the big bucks, that buck right there, that's a nice deer. It's a 5-year-old buck, but I abandon the feeders. I get away from them on our place and I just go to find wherever the acorns are dropping. Yeah. And I waited until they were hitting pin oaks, the red oaks. They were hitting pin oaks and sand jacks. They were hitting those. Sand jacks are awesome. If you can find some, then that's really what the deer like. But they were hitting a few sand jacks. They were hitting, we didn't have a huge mass this year like years before. In East Texas, you can't. It's almost like there's not really 4 seasons in Texas. Well, you can say it's not a massed year, but man, there's still acorns in Texas, and especially the live oak country. Oh yeah. But as soon as they transitioned, what you want in East Texas is when after the deer will give up on the protein and corn early on. As soon as the first acorns start hitting the ground, which is usually your pin oaks, they're going to hit those. And then as soon as those big white oak acorns start dropping, just totally abandon the red oaks and go hunt the white oaks. And that's exactly what I did with that deer. Was I knew through the summer walking in there, I jumped deer out, and I seen it, and then of course I used trail cameras. Yeah. And once I got that deer, he moved a couple of times during the daylight on the trail camera, and then I started hearing big white oak acorns dropping and seeing them. I just went to where there was a lot of scrapes along the edge with some white oaks and just took a climber and went and hunted just like it was public land. Yeah. And that's the way I would hunt public land. And I would
that's
hunt
the way to be successful.
I would hunt the first acorns that are dropping. But I would be paying attention every day, and I would hunt. And as soon as the white oaks start, like some people want to base their vacation around the rut. What's the best week of the rut or whatever? You're going to see deer, but they're going to see deer chasing does all over the place. And if they come under your tree in Texas, a miracle. Yeah. Right on public land. You better. So from what I'm guessing, if you don't 100%. Have a feeder, because what the feeder deal in Texas is keep the does safe and gentle feeding. But set your stand 20, 30, 40 yards off of that back because a buck's going to circle downwind, look if there's does at the feeder, and he's going to keep moving. Yeah, they're not going to walk right out of that feeder, drop their head, and eat corn. I mean, rarely that happens in my experience. So if I was hunting in East Texas or in this part of Texas on public land, I would tell my boss, I'm going to start my first week of vacation when I see the first white oak acorns dropping. And then as soon as they did, I would find a way to use the wind to get into that spot where those white oaks are dropping. that bucks are wanting to use.
Yep.
And the way you know bucks are there is a scrape's going to be there.
Yep.
So if you find scrapes around where the first white, so usually that's about mid-October. Then from there to the end of season, until gun season started, man, I would just do it, and that's what killed that buck. Is I started getting him on the camera. Can you hang trail cameras on public land? Oh yeah, I'd buy all the cheap ones you could get when they clearance them, and just don't even worry about ever getting them back. Just go put them out there, and get them for pollution.
But
we haven't, knock on wood, we haven't lost any yet, and I'm pretty diligent. I try to get a I'll go to Home Depot and get some cable, and I'll lock them up just as
just to keep the honest. Right?
That's exactly what Austin says. Box keep honest people honest.
The guy that taught me how to hunt, and he's still teaching me how to hunt, Tommy Young, my cousin, he's 70. He's killed the biggest buck that's ever been killed off that place I killed that deer, and it was a 156 10
Good
point
night.
in Big Buck, right?
Yeah.
East Texas, Marion County, over by Jefferson.
That's
And
I've hunted out there a whole lot.
Yeah, and that 156 buck there is humongous, right?
Yeah.
With his bow, he killed it with his bow, and he wasn't hunting a feeder. He was just hunting deer sign, and he took a climber, climbed up way up in a tree, and shot that buck. But to this day, he still doesn't. He gets onto us. You guys y'all need to learn sign. You're relying on these cameras too much. I'm like, well, I killed the best buck I've ever killed in Texas with a bow because I knew where he was at when he was moving and how to find with a camera. So I'm going to keep doing that. But Tommy can go find.
I like to use the sign to put a camera somewhere, right? So it's like I go off the sign, but I'm going to find some sign and then put a camera over that sign and just kind of use it
to get a pattern.
Yeah.
And that's the way most of us on the lease do it. But I think his point is he thinks we rely on it too much.
Yeah.
Like our woodsmanship skills are fading away.
Yeah.
It just because some guys will just come into camp every night and just go check their camera. You need to do it. And it's not like a trot line,
No.
You need to not check it every day because you're sitting there every time you do. And so I usually only check my cameras when I go to set and hunt.
Yeah.
So and I take the little adapter and this thing right here will burn you and stand on whitetails too.
Yeah.
Burn you up because you don't realize it's gotten dark. So if you don't have your settings real low, that shine right in your face. I saw does just staring at me like, you're a moron.
What are you doing up there?
So I learned that lesson.
Yeah.
But I'll take my little adapter, and the first thing I do is I walk in. That's why I like using stealth cams. I don't have to I just open it up, pop the chip out, and I'll pop another one in because I want to get them on camera.
Yeah.
If one walks through that I never want to leave it without ammo in it, right? So I put a chip in it, and I climb up my tree, hang my bow up, and I'll immediately scroll through. And that's when I knew, man, this deer was just here yesterday at this time.
Yeah.
And I knew he was running with a real pencil-y 8-pointer.
Okay.
And so right before dark, this little pencil-y 8-pointer walked out, dropped his head, started eating the acorns right under me. I'm like, here. So the next limb I heard pop was that 9-pointer, and here he came, and I shot him. So it was it helped,
Yeah.
So none of this has anything to do with what we're going to talk about.
That's
but
perfectly fine.
No, that's exactly what we
stuff.
talk about. I mean, like I said, like you said, that's when we go out during the summertime, I picked out white oak trees. That's I'm like, there's one, drop a pin on onyx. There's another one, drop a pin on onyx, and I'll just circle through. And so like I kind of utilize that same strategy you have, is try to get those early acorns that are falling, because that's all you have an option for. That's your feeder, is a big tree. And the best part about it is it doesn't ever run out of corn.
Nope.
Pigs don't ever knock it over.
And what's awesome is you could have 50 feeders around it, and they're going to pick the white oak. They don't want anything to do with the corn.
Yeah.
That's what they want. That's their true nutrition.
Yeah.
That's what they're really getting their nutrition from and want. Now, the hogs will come gobble all your corn up and still go eat all the acorns.
Yeah,
so the hogs are they're a whole nother ball of wax.
I mean, we sat, Cameron sat and killed a hog. We almost killed another hog. He kind of came in and got us on the wind, but they're everywhere out there. We got pictures of them, giants,
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to kill a hog, you can go out just about anywhere on public land and
shoot some.
sit for a minute and you'll find some, so.
Yeah.
So you were talking about kind of backpack hunting in the mountains, not to kind of totally just move back to the west, but I know everybody likes to ask the question of like, what's the most important thing to bring back there, but take boots off the table, because I think that should just be a given. A good bow and good optics. I think those are all things that everyone knows.
Yeah.
But what is something that you're not going to leave home without when you go that far back into the into the backcountry? Yeah.
Well, my pack's pretty simple. There's a lot of guys that put a lot of thought into And I started off like everybody else with an 80-pound pack, and I've worked my way into a 10-day hunt. Man, I can get away with almost 45 pounds now.
Okay.
Because I eat a lot of, like when I go to Colorado, I don't pack a lot of protein when I go on my elk hunt. As proteins are heavy.
Yeah.
All right. So I shoot and catch all my protein. I try to just make time to fish, and I make time to hunt birds. And during that elk season, you can always kill grouse, and you can kill 3 grouse in no time with a bow.
Yeah.
They were everywhere when we were elk hunting.
Yeah. So I eat a lot of carbs for lunch. I eat a lot of carbs for breakfast. But dinner time, that's when I'm going to load up on my protein, and that's usually meat, and that's usually a trout that I've caught out of the creeks. I always hunt around water.
Yeah.
Or I eat the birds.
Yeah.
Or rabbits or what. I'm not picky. Like,
I mean,
I'm
rabbits
really
are delicious.
I'm really like, I'll eat squirrels, rabbits, whatever, because I don't want to pack it in, so I'll just shoot it there. And then if you know what, if I just didn't shoot one today, I've got freeze dried meals, and I'll eat those. But this year we packed in. My friend Sean, his mother-in-law, gave him a bunch of those freeze dried meals, that not Mountain House, but these tubs that you could buy at Costco for like $50, and there was wild rice and.
I've seen these.
All this,
I've seen them before,
right? Well, it weighs 7 pounds full.
Yeah. Okay.
And so we're like, man, let's take that in. We'll split the food in our packs, but the bucket I'm going to tie on my pack because we're going to use that to fetch water.
Yeah.
Because when you're boiling that much water, you got to have a place for water. Well, this bucket's nice, man. It's like a 2 or 3 gallon bucket. So we took all that in there. So one night, man, the first night I went out and killed 2 grouse, and we breasted them out. Got a fire going and laid put some rocks down and just cooked the grouse right on a rock, and then diced that meat up after it was done. And then we took it was a chicken Alfredo flavored meal.
Okay.
No, it had no meat in it really. It was chicken flavor.
Yeah, it was just like
So we had chunks of grouse and chicken Alfredo. My gosh.
Oh my God.
Olive Garden ain't got nothing on
that.
No, that's
back
country.
You're not gonna be able to pack something in like that.
And then the next night, 2 nights later, I went out and I shot 3 grouse. I came back, and I was shooting all the grouse because I put the $50 up and bought the small game license.
Yeah.
And my buddies were all like, "Well, if you'll shoot, you shoot the grouse because they know I'm going to shoot them.
Yeah.
We're not all going to buy one. And the only reason you buy that thing is to shoot grouse.
Yeah.
So that you can legally have them in camp and shoot them and eat them. So, and we figured,
we'll get $50 worth of food out of this.
Yeah.
I mean, if nothing else,
more
just
than paid for itself. And I'll tell you something else. Because I had that license runs longer than your hunting license. So when you're applying, you get a price break because you're not having to buy. Some way it works out on your hunting license, you get a price break, and it saved me like $40 to apply for my. I have to go back and research that, but just remember, if you go in Colorado in the early season, buy your small game license because it's year to date, not end of the year.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then it gives you some kind of a price break. It saves you a few bucks when you go to buy your hunting license the next year. So it pays for itself basically on.
I mean, especially if you're getting the food aspect of it, that because
saving some weight. Getting some
every
food.
time I've backpacked has always been food has been just so heavy to take and deal with.
Yep. Try not to be picky. Like what we do on food, on a backpack hunt, me and those guys they're the masters at it. Team Backcountry. Really, listeners got to go follow Team Backcountry because all of this stuff. These guys are younger than me. They're probably younger than you guys.
Yeah.
But they are
just experts.
They're experts, and I'm the old guy that goes with them, and they're the techie guys. They have all of the techie knowledge, and I got that old salty just mountain man savvy. So that's how we all fit together.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
But what we do is we go to the store and we buy all the same foods. We like fruit snacks. We like peanut butter cups. We like the thin little single slices of bread, the little thins bread. You've seen those? Mm-hmm. Nature's Own, I think, makes those or something. Yeah. And then we get fruit snacks, and then we get all of our Mountain Ops drinks, Enduro, Yetis, and all that stuff, and we lay them all out. A granola, everything and a Mountain House. So we go, okay, here's one day. Here's one Mountain House. Here's a pack of Kool-Aid. Here's a Mountain Ops. Here's the crackers. Here's the bread, and here's the peanut butter, and here's everything for one day. And that goes in a 1 gallon Ziploc baggie. That's a whole day. That's 3,000 calories in that bag. And that's Monday, and we do those for every single day. Then you put all of those bags in your backpack, and you try to mix it up. One of them you might throw a Reese's peanut butter cup in there.
Yeah.
And then on this one, you might put, if it's Easter time, throw some in the freezer, like right now, and grab a handful of those little chocolate footballs, and you throw those in there. Because something like that is like magic for you. Like you're on a mountain, you just got defeated, the rain just beat you down. You had the bull at 12 yards, the wind swirled, and you're like, man, it's going to be dark in 5 minutes. I got to walk 2 hours back to where my camp's at. I'm just freaking deflated. And you see a little chocolate football on the bottom of your backpack, it's like somebody just handed you cash, man. It's like, wow, this makes me feel good. People ask me all the time, what's the most important thing you take in your pack? What's the one thing you won't leave? That comes up every year at Salt Lake, at the big expo, at my seminars. And this year, I said, and all the guys, those guys are on the front row because they film it for me and stuff. And they're laughing because they know what the answer is going to be. It's fruit punch flavored Kool-Aid, instant Kool-Aid.
Just...
You can be having absolutely, I love it.
Yeah.
I could drink that all the time for every meal. I just love those little single packets that you put in a bottle of water like that of fruit punch Kool-Aid. But you can take just the crappiest situation and make it like awesome with Kool-Aid, man. it's like, because you're just like, man, I just need something, because you really do get mentally beat down as much as you get physically beat down on a backcountry hunt.
Yeah.
And so some little thing that just makes you happy, and I've learned that fruit punch Kool-Aid just makes me happy. It's not good for you. I mean, terrible. Got red 40 and all that. But, man, it just makes me happy.
Hey.
I drink that, and I skip back to camp, and I'm good to go. Find your Kool-Aid. Find what makes you happy. If it's a chocolate football, or if it's a Hershey bar, or if it's, something like that. You got to have something. And the one thing I've learned about food is you don't have to pack it out.
No.
And so take more than you think you need. I killed one of my good. I got a lot of stories, but one of my really good stories is I killed a bull on day 9 of a 7-day hunt. Meaning, I got in there. This is in Colorado in 2007, and on day 3, I filled my cow tag. I shot a nice cow, huge cow, but the bulls weren't quite fired up yet, and so I kept hunting because you could back then. I don't know if they still offer that or not, but in some units you can buy an additional cow tag. So that year I had the additional cow tag, and I had my either sex tag. And we got down there to about the 4th or 5th day, and I dropped off another 4 miles into this drainage, and it was full of bulls, and they were bugling like crazy. But I had nothing hardly with me, so I hiked, I think, like 7 miles back out that day, reloaded my pack up, and I told my uncle that I was with us, I said, hey, I'm gone. I'm leaving. I don't know when I'll be back. And he's like, well, I'll drop down there with you. So we dropped down in together. Then I went on in a little further. Day 7, the day I was scheduled to come out, I still didn't have a bull, and I was completely out of food. But I stayed, and I said, man, I'm not leaving here without an elk. I was 37, and it's just like, I was 47 this year in the same spot. 15th day came and went, and I didn't kill an elk, and I was like whistling, skipping on my way out. At 37, I'd have been dragging my bow by the wheels and lip hanging out and just pissed off at the world and hating my life and felt like I'd been cheated, know. Even though I had a cow back in the freezer.
Yeah, exactly.
But my point is I wanted to kill a bull. I just like, man, they're screaming in here. I want to kill one. So by day 7, on day 4 or whatever that was, I backpacked in there, took all the food I had left. I should have gone to Walmart and bought more food. But I took everything that was in my Scout. That's what I was driving back then, an old Scout. And I loaded everything in there, and I hiked back in. And by that 7th night, I was down to like half of a bar and a little bit of Kool-Aid or something, And so I ate. I shot and cooked a songbird.
Oh,
yeah, that's not kosher, but I did it.
Yeah.
One of those gray jays, those jaybirds. I ate one of those. I shot a trout in the creek, and I don't think that was kosher, but I shot a trout with an arrow. Yeah. And ate it over a fire on the 2nd day.
That's pretty cool trick, though.
And then
shooting a trout.
On the 3rd day that I was out of food was the 9th day, and I shot grouse. I'd shot a grouse the night before, and I was just too tired. I'd lost like 17 pounds.
Wow.
And I was out of food, and I cooked the 2 grouse for breakfast and ate them. And that's when I finished that last bar. And then that night I killed a 6x5 bull. And then I went and there was an old elk camp close to where we were camped that had a grate, and I built a huge fire, and I ate like half of an entire elk backstrap by myself. Yeah, I just gobbled that thing up, man. That was the most rewarding hunt I've ever been on, like at the time, and it was one of the most coolest experiences. Yeah. But I stayed. I just had that resolve that I'm going to stay until I get one. And it was like my best elk episode, like like you see on Primos. I called this bull in by myself. He came in screaming to 12 yards broadside, just hammered him. And I was like, what was so hard about that?
Yeah.
But you only get so many opportunities.
Yeah.
But it was cool, man. And that's that protein right there, eating those whatever. Now, I don't make that a habit of shooting that stuff, but I was losing my mind kind of. I'm like, staying here. I'm going to eat whatever I got to eat, man.
I mean,
but I did it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a matter of life and death.
It was a survival situation.
You know what? It wasn't a matter of life and death because I could have left.
Yeah.
I didn't want to leave and give I didn't want to leave and give up 1 minute of precious hunting time.
Sure.
I wanted to be able to stay and get the job done. Is why I did it that way. So anyway.
That's a pretty cool story.
So food, break it down, take what you want. If you don't want it, bury it.
Yeah.
Bring your packaging out. Empty all your. I don't leave 1 ounce. I won't leave 1 bottle cap in the woods. It's just not right. I'd leave no mark that I was there, but I'll empty it all out. Let them give back. Let the bears have it.
Yeah.
Now this would be a great spot to come hunt bears in about 2 days.
Yeah.
Once they smell all that peanut butter and stuff, they'll be in there.
They'll be there.
But I hardly ever leave any food. On that hunt right there, I killed a buck on day 4, and the guy. So that's me and Dustin, Corey, and Jason. Corey, the guy between Dustin and Jason, he and I decided we were 12 miles in the Ruby Mountains in Nevada when I killed that buck, and we had like 10 days worth of food. And so we're not packing this food out of here. So we split my buck up between our packs, plus my camp, plus his camp, because we're going to go out and leave the 2 brothers in. Mm-hmm. We packed out and we left our cache of food at their camp, and I asked them, how much of that did you bury? And they're like, dude, it was because we had different stuff in ours that they had. They were like, man, it was like going to Ryan's, man, or a Golden Corral. It was like buffet night, man. We pigged out that night. The night you left, we ate like 3 Mountain House meals and all your desserts. They just pounded it, and then he killed a 170-inch buck before they came out. But that was a good trip. So food, whatever you like, take.
Yeah.
But be smart about it, because everything weighs something. If you like peanut butter, peanut butter is a huge staple for me. But I've started taking the single Jif cups of natural peanut butter. Yep. But old friend of mine, Dennis Howell, showed me those. You can get them for like $1.99 in the camping section at Walmart. There's tubes. They look like a toothpaste tube, and you shove everything in the back end and put the little key in it and turn it. And it's a little split deal, and you roll it up.
Okay.
So you take a jar of peanut butter, because I was going to carry a glass jar of Goober peanut butter. It had the jelly and the peanut butter in it. And he scooped that out and shoved it in one of those things, and then you have this tube of peanut butter and jelly. Huh. And then one of his favorite meals is bagels, and he'd take a roll of bagels, put them in the top of his pack so they don't get smashed. Then he would take the single Spam slices of Spam. You can buy those single slices in Walmart in a pack. It's heavy, but if you're not going in very far, pack them. Because, man, there's nothing better than taking a bagel, putting a Spam slice on it, and then when you stop at the store, or say you're at the convenience store where you get your hot dogs and stuff.
Sure.
Man, just load your bag full of condiments up.
Yeah.
The jellies, the honey and all that, the mayonnaise. So I've been sitting in the backcountry eating a mayonnaise sandwich with Spam and a bagel, and man, it's pretty good. You just got to be creative.
Yeah.
Just take what you like, but don't skimp on food. And then, I used to be real sensitive about, I got to have clean underwear like every day, clean socks every day. And the older and crustier I get, dude, I can live with some pretty rancid underwear for a couple of days. Wash them in the creek. Go commando one day while they dry. You'll be chafed, but man, they'll be dry in a couple of days. But man, carrying them in. Now I will tell you, there's been some buried underwear in the backcountry.
Yeah, I've heard that story.
I'm
from
burying these
people.
socks. I can't even. They smell like ammonia.
Yeah.
Your socks will end up smelling like a cat litter box. So
Save the wife,
those
bring
bad
home.
boys.
Yeah.
Hey, they're getting buried under a log somewhere. So don't pollute, but bury your stuff that you don't want to bring out. Just do the right thing.
It's the best
And
thing.
wool.
Yeah.
Wool stays far less. I mean, a lot of people still use cottons for some reason.
Yeah,
but
no,
wool's,
I won't.
no way.
Yeah.
But
I
wool's-
use cottons and blends, synthetic blends, and a lot of merino wool and stuff like that. So merino wool makes me itch a little bit though, so I use more synthetics than I do that.
Yeah.
But and I'm a Badlands guy, so
Okay.
I use a lot of their base layer stuff, and it's all synthetic, but it's got like technology in it, and it helps with the scent control and stuff.
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah, that's good advice from the food standpoint. I think that's
Sure.
every single time I've gone out, food has been the
the issue.
It's just been so much, just because I haven't really done the.
Yeah, I mean, you get a week, one change of clothes will do the trick just for emergency, like you said. But the food.
The food is the way to be.
The key to all this is find you a really cool hunting spot 2 miles from the truck instead of 7.
Yeah.
Because you can just run. You can run, change out gear, and be right back. So I honestly, as the older I get, the more place. I did the hardcore. I mean, in the lower 48, I've gone as hardcore as you can possibly go in the lower 48.
Yeah.
And go as deep as you can possibly go without running another road. You know what I'm saying?
Going to the coast side of it.
Yeah,
go to the other
I've
side
gone
of
as
it.
deep as you can go and survived it, and it's been awesome.
Yeah.
And I had those experiences, and sometimes that's the experience I wanted, right? But nowadays, I just want to get away from. I just want a few less people and nice deer, and sometimes that's only a couple of miles. You don't need to be 5, 10, 15 miles. You just need to be 2 miles.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of great whitetail bucks that live a lot closer to the trailhead than not on public land in Texas. I mean, I think a lot of people are walking with their headlamps because they want that go-get-'em experience. I want to go as deep in the bottoms as I can get. Like my cousin Tommy says, I don't care about any of that. I just want to hunt where the bucks are.
Yeah.
You're the second person to say that to us.
I want to hunt where the bucks are. I don't want to hunt where I want. I used to hunt where I want to hunt. Yeah. I used to always hunt where I wanted to kill a deer. I did a podcast here a while back with John Stallone, and we were talking about the Hunt with the Masters. Have you ever heard his podcast?
Yep.
I did his, and always wanted to kill a deer on the Navajo Res on the lava rocks. These black mountain of lava rocks. Years ago, our friend Slim missed a buck on the lava rocks. All I heard from Jeremy Duggars, you should have seen all these bucks stand up in the black lava rocks, and Slim missed it. And it was like ingrained in his brain forever. Hell, I wasn't even there, but I can see it.
Yeah.
I want to kill a buck in the lava rocks, right? For a whole season, I had tree stands and all this stuff, and I was trying to kill bucks by the lava rocks. But every day when we drive in there's always a herd of bucks down here a mile from the lava rock.
Yeah.
But I kept hunting. And we're 30 years old.
Yeah.
And Jeremy's like, man, we're so freaking retarded. You might want to kill a buck on the lava rocks, but the bucks don't live there. Why don't we go kill bucks where they are? I went kill a 27-inch buck over there. Like, I'll just go over there where they're at. So I learned that you can get hung up in hunting. Like this looks so awesome. I just want to kill a deer here.
Yeah.
And that's cool. And you may. But if the bottom line at the end of the day is, look, I just want to shoot a nice deer. Well, sometimes a nice deer isn't where you want to be. It's where he's living. And that's just what you got to figure out.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's a lot closer to even a western trailhead than it is the peak that's 15 miles back in where the beautiful river runs through it. You got to just go where the deer are. That's some of the best advice I can give at this point in my game, because I was the guy looking for the adventure. Well, I've had the adventure.
Yeah.
And it's fun. I love it.
No doubt.
I'm going to do it as long as I can, but I still want the bucks, man.
Yeah. Meat.
Yeah.
I like pastrami. That's what I like. That's what my entire goal is. Just I need more deers so I can
make pastrami.
Make more pastrami.
Deer pastrami. You make it yourself?
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Man.
So
wish you brought a sample with you today.
It all got eaten.
Oh my God! It got eaten so fast. It was ridiculous. But that stuff's just venison in general is so good. I'm a big fan of it. So.
Yeah, me too.
We've gone through some stories. We've gone through a little bit of advice. What else did we talk about covering? Talk about just mule deer in general. Here in Texas, there's, like we kind of talked about before we started, there's only one place to hunt them up north, or a couple draws. But so, a lot of people, I don't know a lot about mule deer. I obviously know what they are, but what hunting them, obviously more western, different than whitetail.
Yeah.
Talk about mule deer.
They're just a different critter.
Sure.
All the way around. But there's so many things that are the same, but overall the approach is so different for me. I've never hunted mule deer where there's where you have both in the same habitat. Mm-hmm. I've always hunted whitetail and whitetail specific habitat, and I've always hunted mule deer and mule deer specific habitat. I didn't hunt any of the plains in Colorado where you can have 180-inch whitetail or 180-inch mule deer in the same bed per se, right? I think you would approach those the same exact way.
Sure.
I've watched it on TV, and I'm watching them stalk bedded mule deer in the corn rows on primos or whatever, and they're doing the same thing with the whitetails.
Yeah.
But if you're going to go out west, you could go, man, there's a deer track, and there's some poop right there. Well, mule deer don't scrape like whitetails do, so take that away, especially if you're hunting them in the velvet season. So take the scrape And the scrape is the greatest thing ever for hunting whitetail, in my opinion. That just tells you where a buck's going to be. Rubs tell you where they've been. Scrapes tell you where they're going to be. Mule deer make rubs, but usually after you're already gone because they're still in velvet when you're hunting them in the early season. So the approach is, unless you hunt in Utah where you can put salt licks and use bait, which I never have, but if I lived there I would. I'm not against it. But there's guys that'll haul those things 4 or 5 miles up the mountain, put a salt lick out, put a trail camera over it, put a tree stand over it, set it long enough, they might shoot a buck off of it. And I would do it in a second, That is a strategy that's a whitetail strategy that I think would work for them. Mm-hmm. But if you're a whitetail hunter looking to go mule deer hunting, think bigger. And if you're going to go elk hunting, think much bigger. Right?
Sure.
Like if you're going to go hunt a whitetail, let's just say on your public land here in Texas, there's a little thicket over there. And there's a big 10-pointer living on that thicket. It might take you all morning to still hunt across that thicket. If you take all morning to still hunt one ridge out west, you just wasted a lot of time. Like, I don't even turn on the jets till I see what I want to kill. Yeah. Like elk, bugling don't matter to me. I got to see it. I got to physically see the bull I want to shoot before I'll go after him. Mule deer, it is very rare that I'll blindly go in looking to shoot a mule deer in a bedded area or something like. I've got to lay eyes on it, and I got to know exactly what he is and where he's at, and just know what I'm going after. So I'd say whitetails, you're setting and waiting to see one, and then you'll shoot him, because by the time you see him, he's pretty much in your effective range.
Sure.
Mule deer, you're constantly going until you see one, then you've got to get into effective range. Sure. So you're looking, good quality glass, but I'm not saying Swarovski, but I'm saying Vortex or Loophole, something like that's all you really need, if you're just starting out. I've been doing it my whole life, and I'm still a Vortex guy. Yeah. I like Vortex optics.
Vortex
guy. We're Vortex through and through here, too.
They're incredible for what you pay for them.
Yeah,
they're
the warranty. I just love warranties.
Alone, yeah. So I use your glass when you're mule deer hunting. About mule deer, there's some laws about mule deer. Get in high country mule deer, let's say. Get above them, stay above them. Don't get below them. Don't skyline yourself. Stay below the skyline, but stay above the deer, because the predominant wind's always blowing updrafts. Your thermals and the updrafts of the wind blowing uphill. So if you can stay above the deer are expecting you to come from below. They're expecting danger from below. That's why they bed all along the ledge looking down. They don't lay down looking uphill. Usually one's doing that. One little guy has to lay where he's facing uphill and everybody else is looking downhill for a herd of bucks. So the best thing to do, the strategy for me, is I get to where the target buck that I want to shoot is either a Wallone. That's the best. But my biggest bow buck is a 186 by himself. He was just totally alone. He wasn't even bedded with other deer. And he finally broke off and just went out by himself and laid down. And when I saw that, I knew that was my chance. Yeah. And I did approach from below. But the wind was just right. Yeah. The circumstances were just right. But the rule of thumb is you stay above them and you move on them. And they say, hard bedding is, so your thermals start rising once the sun comes up, starts heating the ground up, and all that air starts to rise, and it slopes goes up the mountain. Well, you want to get that steady enough before you ever make a move, first of all, and that's usually after 10 a.m., 10 to 11 a.m. is when it's steady enough to do that. But hard bedding, deer will bed all morning. They'll bed at daylight. They'll get up and feed for a minute, and they'll lay back down. They'll move around until they hard bed. And hard bed means, the sun's going to be at the highest point of the day, and deer are going to feed every 6 hours. So by the time he finished eating at 9 o'clock in the morning, his last time that he kind of moved at 9 to 10, he's going to go somewhere and find shade that's going to last the rest of the day. Where he might have to get up and move around a tree, but he's not having to move across the canyon to find shade, right? Yeah. So hard bedding means they're done for the day. He's going to lay down. He might stand up, eat, stretch, lay right back down from till 3 p.m., right? That's the time you want to. So you're using glass, you're getting above the deer, you find them, and then go after them. And there are rules to the exception, but that's kind of the rule.
Get yourself into position for when they do stand up and come out of there, or if you can get on them
if you can shoot them in the bed. But I'll tell you, don't do any of that goofy throw rocks at them. Throwing rocks at them just runs them off, in my opinion. I've tried to throw a rock, range, then draw, and it's like, man, that's a mess. Now, that buck right there, it'll be story time again, but this falls into what we're talking about. I use the people. And that's the key to hunting the Wasatch there in Utah is there's so much hunting pressure. That one mountain right straight out of Salt Lake City, well, that's a very popular hunting area. But it's beautiful. I love hunting there, but a lot of bow hunters there. And if you see a buck, you can bet somebody else sees that buck at the same time.
Yeah.
So you're competing for that. So what I did in 2016 was I used the people to my advantage on that deer. And the wind was blowing out of the west every morning till about 30 minutes after sunup. Then it would shift right out of the north and blow straight downhill. So, and it would do that until about 11. And then it would start blowing from the south straight up the hill to me. Those deer were already in a place. That buck and a bunch of other bucks with him were all, every day I watched them for 4 days come out and feed into this bowl. And every day I watched guys approach that had been watching them from above, thought they were hard bedded for the day, and would try to approach where they thought they had the wind because they were above them. But once you break over the top, there's a wind coming this way, and it would just swirl right into that bowl. 4 days in a row, I watched other bow hunters go after that buck, and I'd watch them not even get close, and the bucks blow out.
Mm-hmm.
So I was laying in my tent on the fourth night, and I was like, man, I'm going to kill that buck tomorrow. I'm going to kill that big 4x3. I know how to do it. So I got up at 4 in the morning, and I didn't put any of my clothes on. I'm literally had on just my underwear.
Yeah.
And I put all my hunting clothes in my backpack, my headlamp. So I got my boots, my headlamp, my underwear on. That's it.
Yeah.
And I got my pack on and my bow because I didn't want to sweat my clothes. I wanted a haul butt.
Yeah.
It's going to take me a while to get over there. So I got up at 4 o'clock in the morning, slammed a bar, drank some Mountain Ops. Man, I took off. It was like 2 miles over there. I got over there, and I got right before daylight. I got into where I wanted to be, and I put my clothes. I stood there because you're hot from walking and hiking. So I naturally dried off. Now I'm shaking because I'm cold.
Yeah,
it's like in the 40s. In the early morning. It was in August, but you're at 9,000 feet.
Yeah,
So I put my hunting clothes on, put my face paint on, got everything I wanted. Crawled out in this bitter antelope bitter brush that actually what the deer were feeding on. They were bedding in it and feeding. I climbed out in it, and I'm sitting there, and as the sun's breaking daylight, I can just barely see. I can hear this crunching, and from here to that door right there, about 12 feet from me, there's a forked horn, ear width forked horn. I can hear his teeth
clacking.
Yeah, I'm kind of down in the bushes, so I just raise up and look, like, oh my gosh, and he just looks right at me just like that. He's right where that door is, and he just looks at me. And I didn't blink or nothing. I'm just staring at him. In a minute, he turned his head and went back to eating again. He just saw right through me. He had a leafy suit on.
Yeah.
And I just kind of slunk back down in the bushes, and he fed off. I was like, man, if I had my trad bow, I'd have smoked that sucker, But he walked off, and then I heard another pop. And I raised up, and that buck was the first one in line with 4 other bucks walking 50 yards below me. And I had the wind coming straight at me, coming out of the west this way. So I stood up and I shot that deer at like 5 minutes till 7 in the morning.
Yeah.
I was there. I had a plan, and it worked where he came out because he knew I'm going to feed. And when the sun gets up high, I'm going to go down there and bed down. And those dudes are going to come off the top again. I'm going to smell them. I'm going to go away. I'm going to do this again every day. But because I said I'm going to get up early at 4, I'm going to get out in front of the dudes. I'm going to get in front. I got one shot. I got like a 20-minute window that I can shoot this deer, or the wind's going to screw me up. Yeah. And luckily, he was the first buck to walk out, and I shot him and made a 50-yard shot and heart punched him. It was awesome. So there's no rule book. Just use what you're looking at. Learn to understand what you're looking at and use that scenario. Find gaps. Play chess with them. I always said I love elk. I've killed a bunch of elk, and I love hunting them. There's no disrespect to them. But they're so big, and they move, and they call, and they do so many things that can get them killed that I always said, elk is like playing checkers. You got to look a couple of moves ahead, and you can win. Mule deer is like playing chess because you can't call them. Yeah. Decoying is not going to work. There's a lot of things that don't work. So you got to make 15 moves to get to where you want ahead of time. Whereas checkers, I might make 3 moves, and then if it don't work, I just go call another one in. So the chess game of trying to kill those bucks in the early season is really what it's all about for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of the things I'm most looking forward to is kind of getting after. We're going after elk next year. You guys are obviously going after them this year, but I'm going after them next year in Colorado over the counter, and we're going to go ahead and eat the $350 to get the mule deer tag as well. So
yeah, just start doing it, man.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Because if you don't buy the tag, if you don't have it, you're going to see him.
That's exactly right.
We learned that one the hard way.
Yeah.
Yep. You're going to see him.
On that landowner elk tag we hunted last year, drive it in the first day. We probably $4 or $5, like just lined up, walking around. We got within bow range of them almost daily.
Yeah.
Just wandering around.
Mm-hmm. You know, people think mule deer dumb until you hunt one with a bow and arrow.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, yeah, because you're used to hunting whitetails, and you hope you see one all season. Where you might pull up to a place, especially private ground, and mule deer aren't getting
pressured.
Yeah, and they're just might stand there and look at you and just be like, hey. But once you put the pressure on them with a bow and go after them, any mature animal's tough. Big mature mule deer, even with a rifle, are extremely hard to kill.
Yeah.
And that's just a mature deer. That's not big by any means. That's a nice deer. That's a 4-year-old deer probably. That's a nice one.
Yeah.
That's all I'm looking for. You know, and I got a lot like that, and I've got a few exceptional ones. But I'll shoot them like that all day long just because they make me happy. You know,
I mean,
they eat good and they're, you know, I got a barn full of that one. There was just my biggest Wasatch deer, and that's why I had him mounted because I hunted 3 years in a row. And I shot a 4x2, a 4x3, and that was a little bit bigger 4x3. And I knew I was not going to hunt that hunt anymore. I'm like, you know, I'm going to go ahead and mount that one. But they're just cool, man. Anyway.
Yeah, when I was at Meredith, Lake Meredith last year. I was whitetail hunting, but it was so neat to kind of. I come up around, so there's a kind of a big. I mean, obviously not mountains, but big group of hills. And so I was coming up this trail, and I saw fresh sign, and I saw. So I didn't really know. I couldn't really determine if it was mule deer or whitetail. I just knew it was obviously deer poop. So I kind of was like, all right, well, I'm going to come get on the back side of this and come up on the other side of this, close to the boundary, which I use all the time in public land. You know, I don't mind hunting, right at the boundary somewhere.
Sure.
And got up into position, got down kind of one side. Had the wind coming right at me, and sure enough, I just looked over, and there was one sitting on the ridge over there, and it was just amazing that he saw me. I mean, he was looking right at me the entire time, but did not. I mean, as long as I was still, he wasn't spooky really at all. Where whitetails are like obviously,
gone.
Oh my god,
Yep.
yeah, and
Immediately.
that was a cool experience to see. And I mean, he was kind of like he sat there for 4 or 5 minutes. And I was just like, man, I wish I wish it was not December.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, obviously, I didn't see one whitetail, saw him. And
What is the mule season at Meredith?
It's like November 18th through the 26th, I believe. So it's like a 2-week period, and it's.
I might have to pick your brain on that later, because man, I really need to. That's just a checklist item for me. I need to get a Texas mule deer. I want that.
I put in for Matador every year, but that's the only other place. But I've seen some good mule deer get shot off of there. Yeah, it's draw only.
Yeah.
Meredith's not.
Meredith's not.
Meredith, you can walk out there.
And that's. Have you hunted it?
I have not.
Yeah.
About 30, 45 minutes from Amarillo.
Yeah, easy to get out
just
to.
up the road.
Oh yeah. Well, my wife's family lives in Amarillo, so we were there for Christmas. So I would just go out, and I didn't even do any. I just go out for the morning and then come home and go out at the evening, and
Is there camping spots
Yep.
there, or a hotel close by, or both?
Yeah, absolutely. You can backcountry hunt. You just can't have a fire. That's the one thing.
Yeah.
But you can camp anywhere you want. There's actual campgrounds in certain areas as well.
Can you hunt camp backcountry style? Just go out and stay?
Yeah,
You
just
can?
no fire.
Okay. That's
You just
one of
can't
the
have
few
a fire.
places in Texas you can.
Yeah.
Because most public land in Texas you cannot camp on.
Yeah.
There's designated campground, and they're rough. But you can't just wander out in the woods like, well, I'm sticking around out here. No, you've got to go back.
But yeah, you can get in there, and I mean it's a big piece of property, and it's just down in the kind of Canadian River Valley, right in through there, and it goes right into Lake Meredith. But there's a couple archery and shotgun only spots, and then there's 99% of it's rifle. But you can get into some of these canyons that are, a 3-mile walk, and that's what you were talking about, staying above them. Everybody I've talked to who I try to put a message out on the forum. Hey, what tips you got? Walk the canyon rim and stay up above them, and just get up around a canyon, glass that, move around, glass that, move around, glass that. Don't go down in and try to get them out that way.
Just blow them out.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, you can get, there's another place, there's a ranch, and I forget the name of it, but there's a ranch that you can basically call the ranch. It's a giant cattle operation out there, and then it's on the kind of southeast side of the Lake Meredith National, like the whole public hunting area. And all you have to do is call them, and they will give you a tag. You have to sign a release form, but you have to go in person and I think into their main cattle office somewhere in Amarillo, and they'll give you a tag and you can go archery hunt mule deer on that place as well. And that's, public land. So, I mean, private. It's private, but it's open to the public through
Same season?
I believe it's the same season, yeah. Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah. I'll get the name of that place and pass that on.
Middle of November's not going to be deathly cold yet out there.
No.
No, I mean it snowed on me when I was there in December.
Oh yeah, I'm from there.
It was cold.
It gets real cold. It gets zero.
I'll tell you what, that place was like a waterfowl haven. Like the amount of geese and ducks that were moving through there
I've
was
goose hunted there.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
If you like the waterfowl.
Sandhill cranes out there too.
Yeah.
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 Can you waterfowl hunt, Meredith?
Yeah. Mhm.
Well,
another place to put on the map.
I'm big into duck hunting.
Yeah, I used to. I lost my taste for them. I got to where I didn't like eating them anymore. And once I did, I quit shooting them. But when I was young, man, I used to pound them. I loved shooting ducks. Yeah,
That's
me too. I just got a dog this year.
Yeah, I never did it with the dog. Friends had dogs.
Yeah.
I was one of those guys put on.
My friend has a dog too.
Yeah, there you go. I just wade out in the slough and shoot.
That's what we've done for years.
Of them and just, in the timber, big timber.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We sat where we sat. We had one of our deer stands. Like we were surrounded by every single wood duck in Texas. It sounded like they would just splash. I mean, it's weird. You're just sitting there and you're like, I think something just came through the water.
Yeah.
And it's just
all the good
wood
traditional spots in East Texas, though. The Ducks Unlimited screwed that up by doing their things with cultivating different lands and waterways.
Yeah.
It's all the big timber that used to go shoot a passel of greenheads in one morning. You might even see a mallard there anymore.
Yeah.
They just changed. I mean, I'm not putting them down, but they changed the landscape.
Yeah.
And when they changed the landscape, it changed the flyway of the ducks a little bit. And it just messed up our spot. And it's just a little to the east or a little to the west. If you live over in Louisiana, it's still awesome. Mississippi, but you got to get a little further west in Texas to catch the other parts that we're missing out on. Probably the Panhandle, but man,
that's
right
what.
there.
And that's they were. I've never
DFW
seen.
is not a great flyway. They come through here, but not.
Yeah, not like
I
it
mean,
used to be.
that was such a weird. This is really the first year I've really duck hunted at all with these guys, or just in general. But out there at Lake Meredith, I was sitting there on a hillside, and they would just. I mean, huge groups of them just rolling down that Canadian River, and I was just like, "Good night."
We need to take some full body mallards out there.
Yeah,
if we're glassing a field, set some mallard decoys behind us.
There you go.
Yeah, just do both at the same time. But yeah, Meredith was one of those places I was like, this place is quickly one of my favorite places to go hunt. Yeah. I mean, I mean, people refer to it as a pumpkin patch during mule deer season because there's so many people out there.
Oh, yeah, they say about Colorado, too.
Yeah.
I killed that 27-inch buck in the middle of the pumpkin patch, so whatever.
I mean, that's my thing. Like you were saying about using people, I think that's the biggest thing you got to deal with is just be adaptable and don't, exactly what you said earlier, don't say, well, this is the way I want to do it, and that's the way I'm going to do it. You're probably not going to do anything that way, except for go home with a tag in your pocket.
Yep. Change it up a little bit. Don't get hung up doing the same thing over and over. And that's something I talked about that with Corey in my elk hunting spot this year. He came in with me, and I said, what I found myself doing the first 7 or 8 days in here is I need to change things up because I'm not being aggressive. It's like I've killed the majority of the bulls I killed in my entire life. I've killed in this one general area. And it's like I walked around for 7 or 8 days trying to relive old memories. Like I'm trying to redo it. Like
this how you're
because
supposed to do it.
I've killed one here. I'm going to sit right here. Man, and then Corey's like,
they're not ducks.
Hey, man. Yeah, they're not ducks. So the last 3 days of the hunt were the best 3 because we got into bulls and we started changing it up and going aggressive because, hell, he's my kid's age, 27 years old, and he's got the legs. And let's go do what you want to do then. So we took off and got aggressive again. And got into bulls, and that's what you got to do to kill elk, because you got to be aggressive, man. You cannot tippy-toe around. You just can't do it. And like I was saying, is sitting there trying to relive, because I've done it here, I think it's going to come easy. No, I was doing something new when I killed those elk.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah.
But in my mind, I could just go redo these things. And so I think that's very important for public land. Guys that find a honey hole, it's always going to be a honey hole, but you can't hunt 2 days the same way pretty much. You got to, if you don't have a feeder. Feeders just change everything. They don't make it easier necessarily. They just change the way you go about it. And
it gives you a starting point where
that's the hardest thing for me too. Like you try to go talk to a hardcore guy from Colorado that's never been to Texas or understand Texas culture or feed hunting culture, and they just think you're just shooting ducks in a swimming pool. And it's like
East Texas feeder hunting's not shooting fish in a barrel.
Just go sit where I sat and let me know how easy that was.
Yeah, exactly.
And the thing is I can understand why, but open your ears up, listen.
Exactly.
Just listen to what I'm telling you, because if you could do what I do, you would do it.
Yeah.
In a second, you would. It's not
100%.
cheating. It just gives you a starting point.
Yeah.
And the fencing thing. Well, they're protecting their assets, man. It's not because I'm trying to keep deer in. I'm just trying to keep deer I don't want. I've got all this money tied up into what I'm trying to grow here. I want to keep it protected. So, everybody needs to love everybody, man. Public land needs to love private land, and vice versa. And don't be so quick to judge each other, but try to understand where the other person's coming from.
Yeah.
And that's something I think is important to talk about. And
we're all hunters, right? That's the thing,
Yeah.
and we're dwindling by the day, and so separating ourselves out into you're just somebody who's low class.
You hunt private land. You don't count.
Nope.
Yeah.
Crossbows and longbows.
I shoot whitetail on private land every year. I don't necessarily talk about it a lot, but I fill a freezer and it's fun and it's delicious.
Yeah, I don't even worry about it anymore. I heard somebody talking about this yesterday. I think it was on Facebook or one of the social media outlets, and it says, we're all hunters, but we're so divided amongst our own ranks. And the anti-hunters, they're the only ones that are truly united.
Yeah,
the ones that are dead set against us are absolutely united against us, right?
No
exactly.
question.
And because you shoot a Matthews or you shoot a Hoyt or you shoot a Weatherby and you shoot a Remington or man, all of that is going to be the end of us all if we don't stop doing that. When I lived in Colorado was the biggest crossbow hating hunting state in the world, right? Like it's not even. You might as well be an anti-hunter if you're going to shoot a crossbow. And the dang trad and the elitist traditionalists in Colorado, oh my gosh, they can be so hateful, and they just don't want to. They just don't even think compounds should be allowed in the archery season. And the muzzleloaders, unless you're shooting flint and round balls, they're not
exactly
even,
the same thing Daniel Boone had.
And it's just like you're like, man. It's part of it. Like trad bow is part of my hunting arsenal.
Yeah.
My Weatherby is part of my hunting arsenal.
Absolutely.
If there was a rock season, I'd want the roundest, flattest throwing rock I could get that hit the hardest. I want that. I want a Magnum rock is what I want.
A Magnum rock.
Yeah. So and I'm like, what? But we're just a podcast. You have a whole different listening group that's ever heard from me. So I'd like to be back again someday. But the thing is, man, I'll talk about how to kill a deer and how to cook a deer and how to be cool and camp out. But right now, the message that's important for everybody as hunters is to be united.
100%.
Yeah, we're all on the same team here.
Public land, private land, don't care. Feeder, no feeder, don't care. High fence, low fence, don't care. But if you shoot behind a high fence, just say that.
Yeah.
No, I went to a game ranch and shot this, and man, I've always wanted to shoot a Corsican ram, and that thing came in, and I shot him at 10 yards, and honestly, he didn't look that scared. Why can't you just say that?
Just say that.
Wow, I hiked in with my Badlands pack to my stand. Anyone that's been around long enough to know, they see a Corsican sheep, they know what you put into it to kill it, period, in the story. We know. But just say what it is. An elk, give it the credit it's due, but don't give it over credit.
Yeah.
And a mule deer or a whitetail, I'm a who's who in hunting, Hoyt National Pro Staff guy, all this stuff. I just told you, that deer that will not make Pope and Young is the biggest whitetail.
Yeah.
I wouldn't trade that day for any hunting day I've got 300 animals I've killed with a bow. And that picture's the only bow hunting picture in my office, pretty much.
Yeah.
That thing means the world to me.
Yeah.
Because I put a lot into that, and I shot it, and I love it. And I'm not asking you to love it. I don't even care if you like it, but I am. And if you've hunted where I've hunted, I'm telling you what I put into it, you'd appreciate it. Well, I know what it takes to kill an animal with a recurve. I shot 5 animals in October, and didn't recover one.
Yeah.
And under 10 yards, I said, you know what, that's not for me. And I got
Yeah.
beat up on social media by this one guy. He kept stalking me like, where's your trad bow? Where's your trad bow? Where's your trad bow? Hashtag trad life. Hashtag ethics, Holmes.
Yeah.
I got to be ethical at some point. It's not fair to the animals. I
Yeah.
really, truly wanted to use my stalker stick bow and kill something. I did. And I shot 2 white-tailed does and 3 hogs. All but one, I'm pretty sure, were fatal wounds. But for some reason, I didn't have penetration or something was wrong. I didn't find any of them. Am I saying I'm giving up on it and I hate trad bow? No. What I'm saying is the right thing for me to do is to stop right there and say, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Absolutely.
I got to regroup. I need to
out.
regroup, and I'll start
Yeah.
over again later, maybe sharper broadheads, maybe lighter arrows, because I went real heavy. And I think the whitetails were ducking them because I was hitting them high both times, shoulder hits. And the hogs, though, man, hogs are just hogs. If you don't shoot them low and forward, you're not going to get them anyway with a bow.
Yeah.
And I was shooting them kind of mid-rib. And I just think
trad bow,
they
you catch the shoulder blade.
And if you don't have an exit wound and they hit that East Texas thicket, you're done anyway.
Yeah, they're gone.
And some people say they're an intrusive species. Who cares anyway? Well, I care. The
I
animal,
still don't-
I still
Good
care
meat.
about the animal. I eat all the hogs I shoot.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
They're delicious.
yeah, we'll jump off the soapbox, but I want people to know that Mark Smith is for all types of hunting, as long as it's ethical and legal.
100% agree with you.
And call it what it is. Don't what did they
church it
say?
up.
Yeah.
What did he say on Josie Wells? Don't pee down my back. Tell me it's raining. Don't-
exactly.
Just,
It's a great movie.
Just,
My
just,
favorite.
No doubt.
just do it and call it what it is. So anyway, there, off the soapbox.
Absolutely.
I think we all 100% agree with that. We all own rifles and bows.
Yep.
For different reasons.
They all
Exactly.
have a purpose.
What?
I don't know.
Well,
I'm thinking.
I'm looking around this office, and you have a bunch of great pictures of you out in the back country, great deer on the walls, some odd ads up on the wall. You've talked about bucket list already, checking things off, but what is at the top of that list? Like, you've obviously done some great hunts, but there's obviously always one that you really want to still do. What is that hunt?
The one, if money and time wasn't an object.
Yeah, just
It's been the same thing since I was 16 years old. I'd like to shoot a coastal brown bear with my bow and arrow on like Kodiak. Yeah,
Nice.
I've always wanted to do that. And even now that I can do that, I'm just so DIY.
Yeah.
I'm so ingrained in a DIY guy that I just, if I can't jump in my Tundra and drive over there and shoot it, sometimes it's like hard for me to make myself go. It was hard to make myself go to Canada to shoot a black bear. No, it wasn't the money. It was just gotta take all this stuff and go do it.
Yeah.
There were two dream hunts that I like. Before I die, I want this to happen. One at the top of the list my entire life has been a Kodiak, a coastal brown bear. Ever since I watched Pete Shepley do it on a VHS tape when I was in high school.
Yeah.
Right. I was like, I want that. And then the second was a bighorn sheep. I wanted a bighorn, rocky, not a desert, not any. I want a Rocky Mountain bighorn. Well, I moved to Colorado, and after 8 years of applying, I drew one. And I spent all 22 days. I never knocked an arrow. Yeah, I never even got close. And I'd killed a lot of big mule deer by then, so I thought I'll just go hunt them like I see them all the time. When I'm hunting mule deer, man, they're different. They're different, and you got to be in sheep shape. And I was in mediocre mule deer shape, and I needed to be in sheep shape. And I will say I didn't kill a sheep because I was in bad shape. I will say that's probably why, because I just didn't have the motivation to go to where they were and stay.
Just get up high enough? Was that the kind of
just go where they're in the worst country, and you just gotta. And I never shot at one, and I took the whole time off from where I saved all my time off, and I hunted. Well, one thing that hurt was I had drawn that tag, and the same time I had a Book Cliffs deer tag in Utah.
Okay.
And I should have. Knowing what I know now.
Hindsight,
believe it or not, I gave the sheep tag back because it wasn't exactly the one I wanted. Somebody talked me into it. I would give the sheep tag back and would have spent the time it took to kill the deer I wanted to kill in Book Cliffs. But what happened was I took a break from the sheep hunt. I got socked in with bad weather, and I couldn't even glass. You have to glass for sheep, and I couldn't glass for a couple of days. So I was like, well, while this bad weather's blowing in, I'll run over to Utah. I'll find me a big 4-point buck. I'll shoot it, and I'll just come back to Well, I went over there, and it wasn't as easy as I thought it was going to be, and I ended up shooting just a 3-point. I forked in the back. Mature 3-point, but he was nothing to write home about. But it's not the deer I should have shot over there. But I wanted one, so I shot that. Then I came back, and then I had to restart with the sheep. So I had too many things going on at the same time. So hindsight being what it is, I'd have gave the sheep tag back, gave the book cliffs the time it deserved, and I'd killed a really big buck. Then I would have had the sheep tag I really wanted. But when you're young, I was 38. I wasn't that young, but I was still younger.
But you still finally draw something like that.
Yeah.
It's not a mule deer tag.
Yeah.
You know you're not going to get it every year or every other year. Or,
Right.
even a big trophy tag that you may get every 10 or 15 years. But
This year I have I had 13 points going into Utah for the goat hunt, mountain goat. If I draw that, I'm 100%. I'm just going to chalk everything else off at that point and say, this is what I'm going to give it what I want.
this is what I'm going to.
And I'm going to go try. And it's either. And another thing is I would never get a weapon specific. I'm not a weapon specific hunter anyway.
Yeah.
I was really hardcore into bow hunting then. But knowing what I know now, I won't ever apply for a weapon specific once in a lifetime animal.
Yeah.
I will get a general once in a lifetime animal so that I can hunt with my bow as long and hard as I can. But if the opportunity came to shoot a really nice bighorn sheep, because the last day I was up there, man, I was like, why didn't I have I wish I'd had a rifle tag, because I would have killed a sheep every day.
Yeah.
But that's the draw to bow hunting, the challenge. But if you're going to get it once in a lifetime, having a sheep on my wall meant more than how I killed it.
Yeah.
Having that
Yeah.
would have been worth more. Now with the bow, to have done it with a bow would mean more.
Sure.
But having it and not having it would have meant more.
Absolutely.
Because I wanted sheep hide. I wanted sheep meat in my freezer. I wanted to enjoy sheep that I ate.
Yeah.
And everything like that. So my bighorn or my mountain goat hunt that I just put in for, I'm going to keep doing it till I draw it. It's any weapon. And I'll probably kill that with my bow because they're quite a bit, from what I understand, they're not as difficult to get with a bow as a sheep is.
Yeah.
So I'm going to shoot it with my bow.
Once you get to them.
But if I find a big 10-inch billy that's across yonder, I have an ultralight Weatherby that I will not be afraid to pull out of my pack and go, you know what? I was gonna stalk in over there and try it, but I'm taking that goat home today.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll shoot him, and I'll feel just as good about it hanging there as anything, you know. But I wouldn't do a weapon specific once in a lifetime again, just because of that purpose, you know. For me, that's personally my personal speaking. So brown bear and then there's a sheep, but what's always at the top of my what I dream, that's dream hunts, but what I daydream about every day
There's
that I
always a
sit
difference
here,
between the two.
Yep, that's my dream hunt. But my daydream, my secret affair in my mind, right? My thing is a big chocolatey dark swamp East Texas whitetail buck that's just older than Methuselah, that's been living back in the bottoms, wading around knee-deep water, so nothing, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Back in the cypress knees and the mosquitoes, just a big old 5-6 plus year old East Texas whitetail buck. And I thought about that even when I was in the heyday of killing mule deer in Colorado. I was like, someday I want to get back to East Texas and hunt big old swamp bucks.
Yeah.
And that's what that was, just his rack. That deer was a 190-pound deer on the
wow.
hoof. And he had a huge neck. I mean, his rack just was, it was just 13 inches, right? It was just a 9-point, but we had 3 years of pictures of that deer with the exact same rack. So he was at least a 3-year-old when he got that big. So he was 5 or 6 here. And I shot him. And he was smart, but what I'm saying is, like Tommy Young, that 150, and I don't want to say score because I don't even score the stuff anymore, but so we know what we're talking about. I want a big old black swamp rack, mature whitetail buck. That's on my right side of my brain.
Yeah.
24/7. And the other 24/7 is I just want to kill a 200-inch mule deer so bad on public land. And I don't care what weapon, rifle, bow, whatever. But those two things, big, mature score has nothing to do with it, whitetail, but a 200-inch mule deer, because I've killed, believe it or not, I don't think I've killed more mule deer than whitetails, but I've killed more mule deer bucks because I lived in mule deer country most of my adult life. But I would definitely, either one of those. I'll take either one of those any day. So that's my pad. That's what I dream about that. And when I'm not doing that, man, I'm thinking about my grandkids. I got 6 grandkids and kids, and I love my daughter lives in Tennessee. Yeah. My son lives here, so I'm a real family oriented guy, and that's what I
That's
I want to make
passion.
sure I would never make them second fiddle to any of that hunting stuff we just talked about. But if we're just talking hunting, those are the things I'm after.
Doubt. So I've been watching a lot of Solo Hunter. like Remy Warren and
Tim
Burnett. Yeah. So I have a rather weird question for you. Have you ever taken your shoes off to stock up on an animal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Is that a pretty
common deal?
Yeah, common thing.
Uh-huh.
Like how? I mean, is it just that much of a difference?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, just
daylight and dark. But there's my friend Howard Tanner on Instagram. He has he's changed the name of his company. TH Leathercrafts is what it used to be. But Tanner Howard makes stockasins.
Yeah.
He makes leather moccasins.
Okay.
And I just got a pair of them at the show this year.
Okay.
And that's going to make all the difference. And they're cactus proof. You can step on cactus, glass,
which
whatever.
is even better.
He had a dental pick, and that's super sharp.
Yeah.
You couldn't poke it into that leather.
Wow. See, that's my
gonna
thing is
make-
my feet. Like I could never like the
You're
thought of
tenderfoot?
taking. I'm a tenderfoot. Like thought of taking my, my shoes off to walk on rocks. I feel like I'd make more noise like than it would just leaving my shoes on. But I've always thought about. I see them do that all the time. I've seen that over and over and over again on hunting shows, and I've just always been like, is that a real
See, what you do before you go hunting, you just like working out, just like going running, you take your shoes off, and on the hot summer concrete, you walk across a normal parking lot.
Condition your callus on your feet.
Yeah.
I carry extra wool socks, what I used to do.
Yeah.
And so I had big, thick, heavy wintertime socks.
Okay.
I take but the thing is you're in Utah, especially. Like I didn't have my shoes on when I killed him, and I was sitting there. But I thought if I'm going to have to make a move, I don't want to make, noise. But the oak brush is so low and so dry.
Mm-hmm.
Utah is so dry. What I do is I take my pants off, and then I wear a base layer that's usually like camouflage, and then I put this wool socks on because what gives you away a lot of times is the breeches leg rustling together, even soft ultralight soft shell clothing, that rubbing together gives you away and catches on stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I pull knee-high extra wool socks up just on base layer camo. No one's going to see you back there.
Sure.
No matter. And, South Cox killed that one in Nevada a couple years ago as boxers, right?
Yeah.
So, anyway. But it's very, very important to take your shoes off if you're in. It's not important to take your shoes off. It's important to not make any sound.
Yeah.
And if that means taking your shoes off.
Yeah.
When it comes down to getting big game on the ground, if it's legal and ethical.
Sure.
It doesn't have to, mostly moral. If it meant getting completely naked in front of 15 dudes, I'd do it.
Yeah,
if I had
shoot
to
a big
kill
deer,
yes. Whatever, man. You can laugh all you want. I'll be laughing on my way to the meat process.
Exactly.
I'm with you, man.
No, I
wouldn't bat an
100%
eye.
agree with you. Yeah, no.
I'd be like, hey, y'all might want to turn your heads because I'm white as a ghost.
Yeah.
But I'm fixing to get naked because that's what it takes to kill this buck.
Yeah, no doubt.
I don't know what
It's fixing to
scenario.
get weird in here.
I don't know what scenario that would be, but if it happened, just know Smitty's dropping trout and fix shoot a buck. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I totally have the utmost respect for both Tim and Remy, obviously, but they're freaking heroes. But still, I just have always been like, I've never really had a chance to talk to somebody who's done
Good
that.
point.
Like,
Those dudes are good dudes, man. I've never met Remy.
Yeah.
He follows me on Instagram, and and I've liked his
He's
stuff.
a good dude.
And I've not talked to him, but Tim I did because he's good friends with my guys from Team Backcountry.
Okay, yeah.
And at Salt Lake, we visited it for a while, and came up, hey, Mark, and we talked. And thing is killing something on video on public land is hard enough as it is with a cameraman. This guy doing it by himself is just
those guys are freaks.
They're just really good, man.
We've talked to Remy a couple times, and we're trying to get him down here for BHA. It's just trying to get that guy to come down here.
Mm-hmm.
I was like,
He
hey,
ain't got a lot to do in Texas.
Yeah.
he wants a sandhill crane
He
hunt.
did,
That's
yeah, he did say that.
that's his thing.
There's not a lot down here that interests him.
No.
Not from a standpoint of which I've always been like, I would love to see some of these guys come down here and be like, okay, you're a badass, no question about it. I want to see you go public land hunt here in Texas.
Bought and stock a whitetail.
Yeah, let's see.
And
I mean,
shit.
or don't even. I mean, don't even. I don't even care about what method you use. I just like come down here and I want to see like that. Like somebody who can hunt like that. Like, what does it take somebody like Remy Warren to hunt and kill a whitetail deer on public land here in Texas?
Yeah.
I just think that would be such a cool thing to see.
Yeah, send them the whole book so they have it.
Yeah.
Let them plan a hunt and just tag
Come on
along.
down.
See
Yeah,
how we
well,
should be doing this.
And that's one of our reasons for starting this whole podcast is because not a lot of people talk about Texas public land hunting
Yeah.
anyways.
No,
You
I mean
know,
that's
I
the
mean,
thing.
like,
it's just
Yeah.
it's
It
kind
is
of a
way
joke
different.
to
And
a lot of people.
Or they don't even know.
I mean,
5 years ago,
we
I
didn't know.
Yeah, no, you're.
I didn't
for
think
sure.
that was anything that occurred out. I mean, like that's not something in Texas. I mean, but
I wish I would have known about public land a long time ago.
Holy-
I probably
Especially when I lived in
would've-
Amarillo. I would have probably had me a mule deer.
yeah, you would. Yeah. So that's my thing. Like I said, this year is that's my big trip because I'm going to use it because around Thanksgiving. So I'm going to head out there, and I'm going to try to get out there a day or two before the start of the season and just and like I said, use guys to my advantage because I know come opening morning there's going to be a bunch of dudes who roll out, put their rifle over their
slamming door
shoulder,
trucks.
slamming door trucks and walking out into the woods and just walking out, and I plan on being back there and letting them just push them all back to me, and then as they flood up out of those canyons into the private land,
Did you get stampeded?
hey man, it's just like I have to take one down with a knife or something, So
Yeah.
You should have waited to give out your strategy till after it worked. Like, so you can at least use it once before everyone's like, "That's a great idea too."
like get out there early. I'm sure I'm not the only person that thought about like, oh, you know what I'll do is I'll get out there a couple days
Be
ahead of time.
surprised.
The majority of people are probably not thinking that, but
Well, I'm gonna check that mule deer opportunity out, and I'll let you know how it goes.
yeah,
Yeah,
It's,
I might see you out there.
yeah.
Might just ride.
Are you
over
gonna
there
go
with
this
you.
year?
exactly. I'm gonna go up there this year. We're gonna go up there for Thanksgiving, and because I can
You
work
already planned
remote.
things?
Where you're talking about is the exact spot. Another guy, a follower on Instagram, sent me to the exact. I think it's maybe the south end of that lake. I can't remember
Yeah.
exactly, but it's like exactly where you're talking.
Yeah,
And he sent me, like, he told me everything I need to know.
Yeah.
I still didn't do it, but it was after season. It
Yeah.
was like right at the end of season.
it's such a short window, and it's
Yeah.
at Thanksgiving, so it's like
You gotta,
you
you gotta be kind of hardcore and remember it to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because my whole life, I'm 47, and for every year I've ever had a license in Colorado or in Texas, I've had 2 mule deer tags on it. I've never
Yep.
even pulled one
I'm
off.
just-
I think I might pull one off and notch it just to do it
Yeah.
once, but I've never done it.
I've-
I've never even looked at those tags really. It's
Those
like,
things are just like the extra little spaces, like where you put your name at. For me, typically, So.
what is just so we're on the while we're on the subject? Do you know what the going rate for an outfitted private land hunt in Texas for mule deer is?
Don't even know.
No one knows.
No,
It must be so outrageous that they don't even. It's like
it's not even talked about. Yeah,
call for pricing.
Yeah.
I love those websites.
Yeah, I
It's
just go.
if I got to
scroll
call you to
over.
find out how much it is, I probably don't have enough. So
No.
Yeah,
No. That scares me off immediately. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, that's north of 10 grand, man. So, no.
and then if it's so many dollars per inch and all
Oh,
that, it's
good
like-
yeah.
night.
that just deflates you
Yeah.
from wanting to shoot anything anyway.
No.
Well, we've been on one of those hunts one time in Austin here, and it's funny because they entice you with a cheap price to get you in, and then all of a sudden they start pointing things out, and they go, "Well, see that over there? Like, if you just add like $300 more or $500 more,
Yeah, we saw
you can
buffalo,
shoot that."
and he's
Yeah,
like, "You can shoot that buffalo for $6,000 or whatever."
That's
No.
just it's just not.
I spent
But
six
some
grand
of
way
the-
better ways, I think.
but some of those
Okay.
Rams, you start looking at them, you're like, man, only like $300 more. That's pretty cool looking. Like,
Yeah.
it makes you think for a second at
yeah.
least.
You know, and I want to shoot a I have Aoudad, but I don't have a black buck yet.
Yeah.
And I don't have an axis deer.
That's
And
mine.
Yeah,
between the
axis
two, I want an axis deer.
Yeah.
I'd like a
Yeah,
real
it's
nice
so
axis
delicious.
deer. They are delicious. My
Yeah.
son killed one. He went
Yeah.
hunting with his buddy in the hill country this year, and they just coming on their deer lease.
Oh, yeah.
And he
Yep.
shot
Oh, yeah.
a doe.
Yeah.
And he's like, and it's delicious, man. It's like,
Dude,
yeah.
you can get. I've found some that are like $300, $300 just meat hunt, doe hunt, and I'm like, I
You
think.
did?
Oh yeah.
Why haven't we gone?
Well, we're.
What are
that's-
those going for? What's like a nice?
Because they'll tell people on a
You can
podcast
get
our
you can get like
spots.
an axis buck for like 1,200.
Yeah.
You know, $1,000
Cheap one, yeah.
Yeah, like you could just. I mean, that seemed to be like a
Thing.
shoot an axis buck for $1,000. You know.
Yeah.
But I mean, I saw like it was like $1,200 for an axis buck or $300 for a doe. You know.
Yeah.
And I'm like, give me the doe all day. I just want
Yeah,
the meat.
and the hide.
And I want that cool hide. That is
Absolutely.
one cool thing that it's those
I could
spots are
shoot an
pretty
access
cool.
day any day for $300. You let me know.
Yeah.
Well, and the funny thing is driving around the hill country, if you ever look, you
Yeah.
can find black bucks and stuff
Yeah.
running around
Oh,
on,
my God.
on low fences. They get out, and they're running around on low fences
Yeah.
and stuff.
So,
out there.
Oh, yeah, all over.
We've got a guy who's we're friends with down in San Antonio. His name's Rob Boots, and he does. He has a nonprofit organization called Veterans in the Outdoors. So he's a veteran and got out, loved to hunt, and he started this organization where he takes, people veterans out of the military, especially guys who have PTSD, and takes them out and goes pig hunting with them, takes them and gets them on hunts anywhere he can. So he's my connection down there, and he was like, yeah, I can, we can get you on some axis deer if you want. So or black buck, yeah.
Surely there's some does that need to be called.
We were down there and near Ingram, Texas, and they, like you said, I mean, it was like, what in the hell? They're everywhere, just along the side of the road. And he's like, man, and just through those little hills, you're like, boy, if you're not careful, you will wreck your car quickly.
Yeah.
So fallow, same thing.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I saw one axis deer when I was out hunting with him. We were pig hunting, and unfortunately those were off limits. We only caught him for a minute, but he turned, and he was a pretty good sized deer. But it was just like, man, I want one of those. I want one of those on the wall.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
Well,
I think we said it all.
yeah,
We're
Right
about 2
now.
hours into this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
about an hour
take.
40. Yeah,
Okay.
we had a lot of good subjects and stuff, and a lot
100%.
of good stories. Your soapbox was perfect.
dude,
I'm
that's
glad
what
you
we're
did
all
that.
about. That kind of stuff too.
But I mean, normally at the end here, we normally ask, is there anything that you think that we need to add? I mean, I know you already kind of said your piece about, hunters loving each other and getting along.
Yeah.
But,
No, man, I think you guys. This is a great podcast. I've done a lot of these. I just have, and it was a fun one.
Yeah.
You guys are a good crew, great dynamic, and great topics. And I really appreciate you guys are with doing the BHA thing and what you stand for. It's cool. It's like I come back to Texas and I'm among my people. You guys are my kind of people because I'm exactly what you are outside of the confines of Texas, but I'm a regular Texan inside.
Yeah.
But it's nice to see that because I don't know enough about it I'm at 47 years old. I've got what I got. And I got my spots out west, but I got my stuff in Texas I like to do. But you're inspiring me right now as we're talking. I want to go. Maybe this is the year. Maybe I get off my can and go out to the Panhandle and get my Texas mule deer.
Punch that tag.
And then if I do, we'll have to do a follow-up podcast on it.
100%.
No question.
For sure.
Hopefully we're down there together and we can see each other packing horns out. That'd be the way to go.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, that's the one thing. No does, but I like I said, after I saw that mule deer, it ignited a passion in me. I was just like, man, I've got to
Mule
do
deer
this.
Get one.
and
Well,
crappie.
Mule deer and crappie, those are my addictions right now.
Well, let's just work it out. Let's share information and help each
100%.
other out, and that's what we'll do, man.
That's what it's all about.
So when you guys decide to go to Colorado, I got all the intel you could ever possibly want, and
Next year.
That was my trade-off this year. So I'm supposed to have, this is my 5-year anniversary at my job, my day job, right? So I'm supposed to get an extra week of vacation, but they front-load it, so it didn't get it until my actual anniversary, which is in April.
Yeah.
So this year I don't get my extra week, so that was going to go to elk hunting, and
so you just do it next year.
I doing it next year, and I got to make Mama happy this year. We're going to Paris, so.
When you're married, that's one of the most important things. You make sure
Absolutely.
they're happy, and then that means more hunting and fishing.
That's a whole nother topic.
That's a whole podcast right there.
I talk about that one a lot in my seminars about, and that's on the topic of backcountry. We'll remember this conversation because we'll give you into my next podcast. But the thing is, people say, "What's the best piece of advice you can give me as a backcountry hunter?" And I'll tell you the best thing you can possibly do as a backcountry hunter is live a good, clean life, honest life.
Yeah.
Because when you get in the backcountry, your life gets under this gigantic microscope. And everything you've ever said, every conversation you've ever had, every lie you've ever told, every rule you ever broke, every corner you ever cut, it gets gigantically magnified, and then guilt sets in that will sabotage your hunt faster than anything, more than weather, more than lack of game, more than anything else.
It's just
Poor choices in your day-to-day life, the corners that you cut to get to the backcountry are going to bite you in the buttocks when you get back there. So live a good, clean life. Don't just live right, live good. And I know that sounds corny as all get out, but if you do that, and trust me, I'm a guy that's got experience from both sides of it, because when I was younger, I didn't. do that. No one told me that. I just lived my life the way I wanted to live it. Then I tried to go be this backcountry guy. And the next thing you know, only been hunting 2 days, and man, I need to go home. I wasn't a bad guy, but I learned that if I tightened up my life, if I tighten up, and I don't spend money that I don't have on things that I don't need, and I don't cut corners. If I'm going to cut a corner, I cut a corner that's not going to affect another human being. I'm cutting my own corner.
Yeah.
If I'm going to cut a corner, it's going to cut my corner off, not my child's soccer game, my granddaughter's recital, my anniversary. My anniversary is August 27th.
Yeah.
I have spent more anniversaries on a mountaintop than I have at home.
Yeah.
And especially in my 30s. My wife was just cool with it. But I talk about that a lot because everybody every year at every seminar says, what's the one thing you can tell me? Well, they want me to tell them about a pack or about some boots or about a gun. Pick up anything, you're going to read that.
Yeah.
But I just don't think people think they can say what I say. And I just say what I think. And is everything right in your life? Because everything's not. I'm not trying to say, hey, let's go sit down, crack open the Bible and talk about Jesus. But if you want to, we can.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, if you don't do that, you're already so far behind the 8 ball before you get on the mountain, because as soon as the bad weather sets in, or it's dark now and you're by yourself, and I hunt by myself most of the time.
Yeah.
Dark sets in, and then you have nothing but time to think, and then you're going, man, is my boss going to find this out, or is my wife going to see that, or man, I just feel terrible that my son so wanted me to come to his football game.
Yeah.
But man, this is the rut. And I watch a lot of my friends on Instagram suffer through that, and I have a lot of friends on Instagram that do make the right choices, and they're vocal about it now, and they're saying, man, today was opening day. I had to miss it, but I'll be there tomorrow. But man, so-and-so junior caught the winning pass of the game today, and I wouldn't have missed. There's not a mule deer in the world worth of that to me. Priorities in life is what this all comes down to.
Yeah.
So that we'll close it on that. For me,
100%.
if there's something else I wanted to say, that's what I want to say. And I think I did say it all, but there could be a whole podcast just on that, on ways to get around feeling guilty in the backcountry.
Yeah. That's pretty good advice, pretty sage advice for somebody, just to.
Yeah, no question.
It's like, because everybody always
There's no
says.
distractions out there.
No.
There's not TV and Netflix and internet.
And it's going to hit you like a brick wall.
Yeah.
When it comes, it's coming fast and hard, man. And then you're going to feel like God's got this magnifying glass going like that. That's how you feel. And you're like, I didn't know. I'm sorry. I didn't think about it. And you always didn't think about it. Think about it. Think about it every day. Wake up, think about it, so that when comes the time to do the thing that you want to do, you just go do that. And that's all you're thinking about is, where am I going to find the elk tomorrow? Because if your brain can only do so much at one time.
Yeah.
Sure.
So if you're thinking about all of this that you should have been thinking about now, you're not thinking about strategically, how am I going to kill that buck in the morning?
Yeah.
You're thinking about what you need to turn all that off. And a lot of times I get cell service where I'm hunting, and I'll do update live feeds and stuff when I'm hunting, and that's fun. But if I get on mountaintops and I have no service, man, I get this big grin on my face because I'm really going to disconnect.
Yeah.
I'm really just going to turn it on. But as long as you can get a signal, you're going to stay connected.
Absolutely.
You just can't not do it. You can't not do it. Right?
Nope.
It takes a little bit of adjustment time once you don't have signal, because you want to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you guys are learning, like, all right.
And some guys
way
don't feel
more
safe.
stuff.
Some people don't feel safe if they don't have a connection.
Oh,
Man,
yeah.
I feel awesome if I don't have a connection.
I'm a big fan of not being
doesn't
connected.
bother me.
Shut down.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
I just need to be able to have my Onyx maps on my phone, and
That's easy.
That's downloaded, and
But I keep mine on airplane
That
mode.
is
That actually
so-
makes it easier not
Y'all
to
use
play with
you
your
use
phone.
Onyx.
Yeah.
You and your guys use
That
Onyx.
stuff is so important for a public land hunter.
it's ridiculous. We just had them on the podcast last week.
Yeah.
And
I don't use it. I have friends that have used it.
Yeah,
Again, because I know where. But checkerboard land on Navajo land and state land in New Mexico is so super important to have. And we always, Jeremy, my buddy, always has it on his GPS. And I
So
bought
nice.
it. I bought one of them last year when I went to Colorado, because me and Jeremy were going to split up in some checkerboarded areas. And I think I bought it at Sportsman's Warehouse for his dad's GPS, and it was one of the
there's
Onyx.
Onyx.
Onyx is the way to go.
Onyx, Go Hunt, is that one of them?
So
Or-
Go Hunt's
Go
more
Hunt's
of like
a
a
research
help
program.
Yeah, research.
One another. No, wasn't
HEMA
it-
maps, maybe. That's the
is
other
there
one our buddy
Is there one
uses.
just called Hunt Maps?
Probably.
Yeah, I think there is.
That might be what
Yeah.
I bought, or it could have been the other one you said. I don't
HEMA.
know, but I know that Onyx right?
Yeah.
That's the one, right?
That's
like
the-
the,
yeah,
the
that's
king
no
of the
question.
king.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could
Yeah,
download
it's,
them. You could put them on a GPS. I mean, a lot of them do that, but it's just they just have such a great. They have people who just they're literally their only job is to call counties across the United States and just update
Yeah.
everything that comes through.
Yeah,
Awesome.
it's pretty spot on. It helps out a lot.
Cool. Awesome.
Well,
That's all
we
I got.
appreciate it.